TikTok, time to rock. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon to everyone who's watching from all over the world. Your friendly neighborhood philosopher here, D. Wood, with me now. You'll notice it's not AP. AP is a trader. He's not here for the live stream. Decided to go to a different country. So we started off with too much cargo. So we got rid of Benedict Arnold and we got better AP. We got Issa Kabeer here. How you doing?
It's a pleasure to see you all tonight. Glad to be here. Thank you.
And for those of you who don't know Issa, I don't know if he's changed, but Issa's a Jewish Sufi Muslim. And you think, well, something's not right here. But guess what? The Jewish love of life cancels out the Islamic love of death, and so you got nothing to worry about.
You're cute. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, man. How you doing?
Excellent.
Oh yeah, let me go ahead and address this real quick, just in case anyone's wondering. Did Giant DOC get a strike today? Yeah, for anyone who's watching, it was me, Jai DOC, and Chris from Speaker's Corner, and just having a friendly live call-in show where anyone who wants to call in and disagree with us about the Islamic dilemma is welcome to do so. And then, yeah, false copyright complaint, claimed the entire stream was his, even though it's a guy we've never heard of. So apparently Yemenite had been encouraging people not to debate or to engage, but to file false strikes or something like that. Anyway, we'll check that out. But yeah, so Giant DOC will have a lawyer contact YouTube, hoping that YouTube realizes that the channel's being targeted by false complaints and stuff like that, so that they don't keep doing that, because it's a pretty crap system. Someone can get your stuff taken down. What do you think about that, Issa? You think that's good, huh? You think that's good? Are you sitting there going, yes, I'm a Muslim, so it's good. You need to silence these kuffar.
I really think when we're having dialogue, we need to have... I'm a big free speech activist. I think it's so important. If you disagree with something, make an op-ed. Write a letter, make a video, but don't cancel someone else's speech. Because guess what? If you believe in social contract theory, your speech can be canceled. So don't try to cancel others, because you can be canceled too. So that's my wisdom of the day, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's been pointed out Mr. Sling, the guy who filed the false complaint against Giant DOC, is there. Can't do much until the lawyer deals with that situation. But I can go ahead and block Mr. Sling. He's over here running his mouth. What a coward. What a sniveling coward. Right before we started, I was talking to Issa, and I pointed out it's obviously on a completely different... There's a very minor scale getting like a copyright strike, but it's the same general principle as the Charlie Kirk assassination, in that he's actually there, and whether you agree with him or disagree with him, he's got a mic in front of him. So if you're someone who disagrees with him on anything, you can step up to the mic and say, here's why you're wrong, and I'm going to prove that you're wrong. And then instead of someone stepping up to the mic and proving he's wrong, someone shoots him instead. And it's kind of like that. It's like, the stream, again, much more minor scale. It's basically on the level of being an annoying thing, right? Not life or death. But the same principle in that we're saying, here's our position. Anyone on the planet who wants to call in and prove us wrong on this, you can. And we had several discussions there with Muslims, and it's just not allowed. Just, hey, don't discuss this. Just shut it down. But it is weird that you got these creepy dudes who are just obsessed with silencing other people. They know they can't refute it. They know they can't refute what you're saying, or they just call in and refute what you're saying. And so it's like, I can't refute what you're saying, but I can file a false copyright complaint, get your stuff taken down. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, that's Just want you guys to know that doesn't work long term because it actually ticks people off more, and then people see it and they're like, "What is it with these guys and silencing all criticism?" People don't like being silenced. You like being silenced, Issa?
No.
No. All right, so guys, that's the situation there, and just sucks. Sometimes YouTube is really quick with these kinds of things, and sometimes they sort of drag their feet and give people 2 weeks to respond and stuff like that. So we'll see what happens.
One thing I wanted to add to that, I think it's strange. I'm like, if you have such a better position, why not just promote that and support that? I think you said it yourself. You mentioned like a panic mode and fear. I think this comes from a space of fear. It doesn't come from a space of courage. Um, People who have courage will step up. People who are afraid, this is the kind of tactics that they use.
Yeah, I guess that's the other thing. It's like you're basically admitting defeat for your arguments. If I say, "Hey, let's debate this, let's discuss this," and you say, "No, all I want to do is silence you." Yeah, wouldn't it be much more persuasive to actually respond? And if you don't think you can, doesn't that tell us something about your confidence level? If all you do is try to silence people, in other words, it comes across as really weak
It
and
does.
cowardly. Bunch of sniveling cowards.
Yeah, just come up and say your piece. If you think you have a better position, I agree with you with Mr. Charlie Kirk. May he rest in peace. Just like
Hey, don't
come
let
up.
the Dawah guys hear you say that, man.
I mean, it's such a wild thing that an innocent person lost their life. Like, do you think that's a and it's strange because you said, well, he had different opinions than I did, and I'm
So he's
like,
so he's not innocent. He's not innocent if he disagrees with you.
it's so wild. And I mean, if you really watch his videos in depth, it's a lot more nuanced and complex. I think he gets a very unfair rap, in my opinion.
Yeah, he does. Like I've seen clips of him where he's clearly like being brutal and insulting something. I've seen other clips where it's someone he like completely disagrees with him. He's like very careful and respectful. And at the end of the day, hey, I disagree. I disagree with you on this. What we're talking about. I disagree with you on this. But guess what? We agree on all kinds of other things, so we can all work
Yeah.
together on those other things and still disagree on this and stuff. And it's like, what level of obsession do you have to have with controlling what everyone says when that's too extreme? Saying, hey, we disagree on something, but we agree on other things. Let's work together on the things we agree with. And no, that's too much because you still disagree with us on something.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like I said before, I did meet him. I went to one of his conferences, and I saw him interviewing the former, was it speaker of, was it the House, Senator? No, yeah, is it maybe the Senate? His name was Senator McCarthy, Kevin McCarthy. I don't know if you're familiar. He left office. He was the minority leader, I think. So I saw him interviewing him.
Did he humiliate him?
No, I mean, it was just an interesting conversation, and I think in dialogue we should just be able to hear different perspectives. It's really wild that people get so upset and so hurt, and I'm like, why don't you put your ego at the door and just enter the kind of dialogue instead of getting like really, letting your emotions take control. And I think I'm going to be very transparent. I think a lot of it's tribalism. It's not even religious. It's like, this is the tribe I was born into, and you're attacking my tribe. So a lot of people don't even know much about religion. That's one thing I've learned, like, because that's my academic field is religion, comparative religion. A lot of people know very little about religion. So really what they're doing is when they feel their tribe has been attacked, and that's why they get so upset and so angry, because you're like, you're attacking my family. And you're like, no, I'm attacking ideas that I don't agree with. I don't agree with your narrative. I don't agree with your ideas, and I'm challenging them. And if you don't like them, you don't have to listen to what I'm saying. You can go somewhere else. If you're such a religious, pious person, why are you watching this stuff to begin with? Go to your prayer house and pray. Go to the masjid, right? And go
Mm-hmm.
pray. Go feed the poor. Go do something worthwhile in your life. If this is such a thing that bothers you, go do something, righteous in your life. But if it seems like they're obsessed. Like, they're like stalkers. They're like a little bit obsessed. You know what I mean?
Yep, yep, yep. All right, take these first couple of super chats, and then guys, we got the topic, and the topic is, I don't know if it was clear. What did I put? What did I put? I put apologist wives versus Dawah wives. How are they treated? And so in this live stream, it's basically based on the 4-on-4 Christian ladies versus Muslim ladies debate that took place on Dr. Daff's channel just a few days ago. And it was watching God Logic discuss the debate with his wife, Christina, Lady Logic. Afterwards, they did a video. But I was just watching that and thinking, like, how different is this from Ali Dawah having his wife communicate through a dry erase board? Very, very different. So I just want to be clear here at the beginning as we go through this. I'm obviously not talking about all Muslim men and their wives or all Christian men and their wives. You have Muslim couples who are extremely loving and respectful towards each other. I mean, the first close up I had of a Muslim family was Nabil and his parents, absolutely loving, awesome family. As someone from a pretty darn dysfunctional background, I was like, wow, what an awesome family that is. And you do have men who go to church on Sundays and are complete dirtbags towards their wives. So we're not talking about everyone here. We're kind of talking about the Dawah level of stuff. These guys are really, 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 really bad towards women. Extremely bad. So we're going to check out some of that, guys. We're going to go through some clips. First couple of super chats, then we'll jump into some clips. Where in the zoot are you zooting? What is this? Mr. Sling, I'm on your SSA, not in the old zoot sense. Do you know what SSA means? I don't know what that means.
No. I was thinking of like Social Security Association. Like that was the thing that popped up in my mind, but I have no idea what that is.
Yeah, I'm wondering if it's something like reporting him or something like that. I don't know what it means.
Something like that makes sense.
Let's see. Who did a copyright strike on Giant DOC stream is in the chat calling David Wood a coward. Yeah, we're sitting there in a live stream saying, call in and prove us wrong if you disagree with us. And then the response is, no, I will shut you down. You're a coward. What a coward, man.
Someone in the comments said that SSA, look at it backwards.
Oh, I thought that, but I was like, why would they spell it backwards? You normally just put a little asterisk for one letter or something.
Makes sense.
Did you and AP ever do your part 2 of the reaction to the Dr. Schaff women's debate? If you did, I can't seem to find it. No, we were planning to on AP's channel, and then everyone was having problems with StreamYard for a couple days. He was getting, every time we would play a video, he would get an echo where it sounded like I was played twice or something like that. So he just got fed up with it. But we also saw Jai and DOC and God Logic all complaining about StreamYard the same day. So no, we didn't get to that. And now he's in Israel. So I don't know if we'll get back to that. Did you see Hijab's MMA fight? Wouldn't last a round if the big Dizzle stepped in. I'm not a fighter anymore. I'm a lover now. He is really trying everything to pay up Douglas Murray. Yeah, I have to say, he's going to need a lot of fights to pay off 600 and some thousand pounds. That's a big old pile of money. That's like, I mean, you got to be like champion MMA fighter to be making that kind of money. So he'd be better off just like begging the Ummah or something like that. Now I have to say though, it's actually. He might be able to find some donors to kick in for him, but that's actually bad. I don't mean like bad for them. I mean like bad for him, because sometimes people got to learn their consequences for behaving stupidly and deceptively and so on, and they have to deal with it. And if you just bail them out every time they do something stupid, then they never learn. They just keep doing the same stupid stuff over time. So anyway,
I wanted to add one thing to that. I think that kind of hubris of going and saying, insulting other people's traditions when you're a minority in a different person's country, you should be respectful of that you're being taken care of and people have allowed you into that country. I don't know, like, when I go into someone's house, I like to be respectful of the rules of that house. Like they're the host, you know. It seems so weird. Like your family's been welcomed into this country, and you're being very disrespectful to other communities that are there. It's very, you know, it's kind of like the illustrious Rachel Zegler, you know, from Snow White said, "Weird, weird, weird." You know, that's what I feel.
All right. So this is the first and hopefully only time someone is quoting Rachel Zegler in one of in one of my live streams. Did not expect that one. Hey, you do some acting, don't you?
I did. I had an IMDb page. I used to do a lot of acting back then. I did a lot of independent films, and yeah, I played like a Catholic priest in one movie. I was in a horror movie where I played a priest. I've done a lot of different gigs. You know,
Um,
I played a
yeah,
dad.
yeah. I remember that when you and me were going to debate. When you and me had a debate scheduled, and I was like, "Hey, let me look this guy up," and it was like acting stuff that popped up. I'm like, am I debating an actor here? Hey,
Yeah, you are.
no, I was thinking of that because it was a couple things. So you mentioned an actress and stuff, but you were saying, if you're at someone's house, you'd want to be respectful towards the person. I thought of like a little, what do you call it? It's not a full length movie. What would like a 10 or 15-minute movie be called?
A
A
short.
short? A short? Okay. I thought about a short where it's like it's like I'm not sure how to do it where you're not like blasting all immigrants, but only like the extremely bad, disrespectful ones who are like, I'm going to take over your country, and that's what I'm here for. But I thought of like a nice family, and maybe like on their door they're the Wests or something like that. But they're driving down the street and they see a couple of homeless people, and they're like, hey, we've got a finished basement. Do you want to come? Just we can give you a place. But then like the people they bring in like slowly take over the entire house and eventually force the people who invited them into the basement, something like that, to kind of make a point that you were making. Although mine had probably
It's
come across meaner, even though it's like, how do you make that point? How do you make that point without being a jerk to people who aren't being extremely disrespectful of the place that invited them in?
Well, what I think you did, like you did in that Islamicize Me, what you did is you weren't making a depiction of all Muslims. You were making a depiction of like fanatical, extremist type Muslims who literally read these texts and literally abide by these situations. And there are people who do that, you know? And so, like, if you're not like that, you shouldn't be offended. But, like, if you're literally reading these texts, like, if someone literally read the Tanakh and, you know, about people picking up sticks on Shabbat and being put to death, yeah, that would be an unhealthy situation. But you know, there are scholars, there are different interpreters of these texts, and there's like rich traditions. But it's really interesting. Like if you're a hyper literalist, that's what's, you know, you're going to have problematic elements, and I think you can do that. Like you just really kind of shade them as these like really kind of fanatical people. But there's a interesting movie called Parasite. It's a Korean movie, and there's some kind of element of this kind of family that infiltrates, like this poor family that infiltrates a rich family and kind of like takes advantage of them. So it's something like similar to that kind of vein, but not exactly the same thing.
Steve says, do you think you'll do a video on how the LGBTQ plus movement hijacked the United Methodist Church and ELCA? Steve, I can pretty much guarantee you I will never do a video on that because it's just way outside of anything I pay attention to. I'm sure there are plenty of others who are paying attention to that, but yeah, I kind of deal with Islam, a little bit of atheism, Christian apologetics, stuff like that. All right, you ready to check out some Dawah stuff, Issa?
Ready to rock and roll.
All right, first up, we'll have this clip that we went through a while back with Muhammad Hijab. And this is, he was having a discussion with Daniel Hakikachu. Daniel Hakikachu, of course, world's leading defender of child marriage. And this was kind of a condensed clip of some of the stuff Hijab was saying, but let's go ahead and check this out. So, guys, we're looking at basically treatment of wives in the Dawah community.
Of the big names of Dawah have at least done polygamy once. The du'at, I would say it's about 85%. The women who take it the best are the revert sisters. But
The women who take it the best are revert sisters. Now that sounds like it has a double meaning because he's talking about the women who take being second, third, fourth wives best. He said there are different communities and of women from different areas. He kind of breaks it down by region. He's saying in some regions they don't want to be second, third, fourth wives, and other areas they're okay with it. And he says, but the revert women, the revert sisters, he goes, they take it best. They take it best. And how much you know about pimping, Issa?
Well, I don't know if I told you this, but I'm doing a degree right now in social work. So helping people who are disenfranchised and helping people get resources. And I actually have a great news for the week. I won a big scholarship that's helping me pay for my last semester, and I don't have to pay out of pocket. So
awesome.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. And the thing is, so I learned a lot about people with substance usage, a lot of people who are struggling, and there's a lot of people who are being exploited. And I remember that case with Sister Aisha. It sounds very much like exploitation. This sounds a lot like an exploitation case where this woman was being exploited. She was being exploited for her faith. She was exploited because she's a single mother. It's extremely problematic, like that he's saying these things. It's not correct to do this. Exploitation is really vile and disgusting, and preying on people who are vulnerable, it's gross. It's disgusting.
Yeah, I was actually, as far as pimping goes, and I brought this up on I think I brought this up on the stream over with Giant DOC a little while ago, but like the Andrew Tate type, and he applied his to like cam girls and so on, but this is like classic pimp strategy. You have pimps who like horribly abuse the women physically and so on. A lot of old school pimps think you're an amateur if you have to beat the women to control them. They favor what's called the lover boy method. They view you as an amateur if you have to beat women to keep them in line. What you're supposed to do, according to these guys, is get them to fall in love with you. And then you might have 5, 10 girls and stuff. They all think you're in love with them. And you make each one of them think that she's the special one that you're in love with, and all the other girls, they're just the prostitutes and stuff. But he really loves you, and you keep each one of the girls thinking this. But these guys will also have what's called their bottom girl or their bottom B. Andrew Tate talks about this, and the idea is they're your recruiter. And Andrew Tate says this in his PhD course. He's teaching. He taught this, that you don't tell the woman, you, like the Andrew Tate, the pimp type, you don't tell the woman you want her to do cam girl work for you. You get your bottom B to do that for you. Your bottom girl. She gets approached by another woman. Hey, it's great. Cam girl work is awesome. It's so fun. It's so great. And that way it's not you, it's her. It's coming from a girl. And apparently that just works better. But I was thinking about that setup and how the Dawah guys are. They get like these revert girls and they start having them make TikTok videos about how great Islam is. And they're using these revert girls to make videos to recruit more revert girls, because revert girls take it best according to hijab. And so these are the ones they want. They want a steady stream of new women converting to Islam to be the wives of all these polygamous Dawah guys. And hijab just said he says about 85% of the Dawah guys do this as far as the polygamous marriages and so on. But it's just weird. It's like the Dawah is set up exactly like the pimp game. It's you got your guy, you get your girl, you let her do the recruiting, and these guys, hey, we want more of the revert sisters. They take it best. So let's get a revert and have her start making videos, recruit more girls, and it's all for us. And it's like you guys you're applying the pimp game to religion, man.
I also have a critique of this word revert. I don't know what it means. It's bizarre, and it's not even a classical Ahlus Sunnah wal Jama'ah, like their Sunni Islamic ideology. That's not what it is. The concept is there's this thing called a fitra, or an innate disposition. So people are born with an innate disposition to good. That's your classical, Sunni doctrine, right? This is ridiculous. Saying you're born a Muslim, you would have to be, the idea is for a person to become like a Muslim and being held accountable, you have to be baligh, you have to be of puberty, right? So this is a bizarre narrative that makes no sense. If that were true, that everyone was born a Muslim, then why would the Quran as a text talk about other groups of people? Why would Nasara, which is weird, is a Nasara a Christian? I don't know. Some people say it is. Like, it's hard because, like, what is defined? What is Yahud, Bani Israel? And then there's also a Sabian, right? And these different factions. If everyone's born a Muslim, why would these other factions exist? Why were the ancient people, why were they called Israelites? Why were they called Bani Israel? Why were they not called Bani Muslimin or Bani Mu'minin? Like, they weren't called that. They weren't called children of Muslims or children of... So it's like you're not even looking at the internal logic of your narrative. You're just making stuff up. It's a completely constructed, fabricated narrative. It makes no sense. And you're saying, well, you're born... No, you're not. And when I hear people say, oh, these people were all Muslims, it's called a retcon. You're doing a retro continuity where you're trying to take all the Hebrew prophets and you make them Muslim. How do you do that? They didn't pray 5 times a day. They didn't pay zakat. They actually had to pay a much higher amount. They had to pay 10% of their wealth. They didn't make Hajj to Mecca. They didn't fast Ramadan. So how are they Muslim? It's like these things I hear, they're so bizarre and I don't understand them. They make no sense logically, even through your standard classical internal Islamic framework. Do you think that's fair? Like, is that a fair argument? Or
I'm just saying you're sounding pretty Islamophobic here for a Sufi Muslim.
I just think we need to be honest. We need to be honest with what's going on here, right?
That is a refreshing approach to take, being honest about sort of like reality. Yeah. So I asked what people know about pimping, and Canadian said it ain't easy. Yep. I think that was who was that? That was way back then. I think it was Big Daddy Kane. Pimping ain't easy. Here we have 22 Easy Channel said, "Hey David, you are a liar. You lie all the time." Well, it's your lucky day. 22 Easy Channel. I'm pausing right here before we continue to give an opportunity to list my lies, or at least the best lie, the biggest lie. I lie all the time. So what's my biggest lie? Actually, wait for you to respond real quick.
I wanted to answer that thing too. It's like, I think what that is just it's an ad hominem attack. It's just easy to say someone's a liar. I don't think they know what a liar is. A liar means that you're covering over the truth, that you're saying something that doesn't exist. What the person, I think, could say is saying, I disagree with you. I think what you're saying is incendiary. That might be an argument you can make, but you can't say you're lying. You would have to prove that. And I've never heard you lie about anything. I've watched your content. One of my favorite videos that I've watched of yours, I really liked it, was your video where you play a KKK member.
Oh yeah, that was funny.
And I'm like, and the thing is, I agree with you. White supremacy and Arab supremacy are exactly the same thing. These people think that they're better than everyone else, and they will dominate and condescend to everyone else and say that their culture, their heritage is better than everything. And I'm like, yeah, that's pretty disgusting, and people do it, and we should just own it. We need to be accountable.
And I think you're right. You have lots of people who, lots of Muslims use the word liar basically to mean you're saying something I disagree with and you're wrong, and therefore I'm going to call you a liar. Whereas most of us, when we're talking about liars, we normally mean someone who is deliberately being deceptive, deliberately giving false information or something like that. And so that wouldn't be simply someone who's wrong about something. Guess what? If all you mean is I'm wrong about things, guess what? Yes, absolutely. I've been wrong many, many times. And so you could say that. As far as
Me too.
lying, yeah, I haven't. Yeah, guys, let me know if you see a response. I've been waiting here for a couple minutes, staring at the comments. I still haven't seen what I'm a terrible liar about. So we'll just wait until later. But
One thing I also wanted to add too is, like, I keep saying cooked. I guess this is like Gen Z language. I don't really understand it, but they keep saying people are cooked, or they're just imitating Avery. I don't know. It sounds like they're either imitating Avery or this is Gen Z words. I don't know. But the thing is, they're like, you've been defeated, and I'm like, and I watched. And I'm like, what? Where has the defeat come? Like, I watch a lot of these debates because I'm interested in the conversations, and I'm like, they're like, I defeated you, and I'm like, how? Like, for example, I watched this one conversation. There's this YouTuber, he's connected to God Logic Avery. His name is Life. You might know him too.
Yeah, I know Life.
So I watch, and I've talked with him on TikTok, but Life was having this conversation with this person named Leafy. I don't know, some kind of fake name. He's British, right? And he was like, he said something so ridiculous. It was unbelievable. His argument basically was, he's like, the Exodus never happened. I have these scholars that proven that the Exodus hasn't happened. And I'm like, you do realize that this is spiritual, miraculous things, like the Exodus, the 40 years in the desert, the splitting of the Red Sea. These aren't literal things that you can prove, historically speaking. That pertains to you as well. If you're going to critique spiritual, mystical things, you then have to critique all of the Islamic things, like the splitting of the moon, if you literally believe that happened, right? You have to believe, like, or in the cave with the web and the angel Gabriel coming down in Mount Hira. You would have to disregard all of that because no scholar is going to say that that's true. So that's dishonest. Like, I would say that's deceptive and dishonest. You say it's okay, it's not okay when they do it, but it's okay when I do it. I'm like, this is gross. This is not right. So I would say never take that route. Don't try to, and you can't even attack the Bible because you're attacking one of the texts you have to believe in. You have to believe in the Torah, the Zabur, and the Injil. So it's a loss too. So it's ridiculous.
Duranos said, "Where's Robert? I haven't seen This Week in Jihad in ages." Yeah, Robert was actually doing too many things, and he had to cut some stuff out. So not sure when we'll be back with This Week in Jihad. Obviously, if there's some big attack or something like that, we might be back, but that will be postponed indefinitely. With that said, Robert's going to be on live with me tomorrow. So 8 o'clock p.m. tomorrow. Be on live with Robert on this channel. All right. Back to Mohammed Hijab. Most
of the big names of Dawah have at least done polygamy once. The du'at, I would say it's about 85%. The women who take it the best are the revert sisters.
It even reaches 50%. In the UK, what percentage of imams and shuyukh and du'at have a second wife? What percentage would you say?
And that's very difficult to know, but that's a difficult one. It depends on what kind of community as well. Like the Asians here, they're not really into it that much. The Pakistanis but the reverts are into it. Like black people are into it here. You know, not all blacks. Somali uncles are into it. Like a lot of Somalis with it. You'll find like Somalis have a lot. Arabs are into it. North Africans do it. You know, so it depends. I think it's a lot of it.
Just want everyone to note, he's talking about in the UK. So you're not allowed to be actually polygamous there. And so what these guys, what they mean is they get their marriages in a mosque. So you have all these guys and they're doing polygamous marriages, and they're just, you don't even have to actually go to the mosque. You just get some leader, and they do them over Zoom, and they do them over phone calls and things like that. And so you want a quick marriage and so on. And we've seen clips of Mohammed Hijab in the past where he's talking about like what do they call them, mikmutta marriages and so on, that someone can just call him up, hey, I'm about to have sex with this woman, don't want to do it the wrong way, so hurry up and marry us. And it's like, okay, what's the mahar gonna be? I'm gonna get her a Happy Meal at McDonald's. And that's how they're doing things. These are the guys who are lecturing us, these Dawah guys who are the ones who are lecturing us on morality and saying that we all need to be like him and the whole world needs to convert and be like them. Weird stuff. But back to hijab here.
It's to do with like community-based demographics, and how the woman will take it. The people the women who take it the best are the revert sisters. From my experience of observing the situation, so it's so yeah.
Did you see it? What he started laughing of my experience. They both started laughing. He said, "My experience." He says, "Based on my experience of observing this situation, it's clear he's just saying, of course I do this. Of course I do it. It's hilarious to me. It's just amazing. There's all hilarious stuff to them." Let me play that part again.
He doesn't tell his wife this. He doesn't tell his main wife that he has kids with that he's doing this. This is so sick. It's so gross. It's exploitation. You are exploiting women. This is trafficking. It's really disgusting, and you're calling it marriage, and it's trafficking. You know, these women, you're taking advantage of them because they're vulnerable. And like, there was someone in the comments who were like, "Oh, you know, it's a consenting adult," and I'm like, then you don't understand power dynamics. You don't understand vulnerability. You're just saying, oh, they're two adults, and thus it's equal. It's not equal. These are not equal power dynamics. You have this really famous person, you know, and he's famous because of you, I think, right? That's why he became really famous, is because he debated you and said you don't know Arabic. Like you have to know Arabic into engaging a religion, and you do know Arabic. You might not know like at an expert level. You know some words here and there, you know, and you probably are familiar with some of the letters, right? But you know, like expertise, like most people are not experts on any language. You know?
Even in that, he agreed with me. I said, according to Surah 33, verse 56, Allah prays for Muhammad, and he says, "I'll give you a free Arabic lesson." He doesn't pray to Muhammad. He prays for Muhammad, and the crowd burst into tears. Like, that's exactly what I said. So he agreed. So he agreed with me. But no, that's where that's where people find out about how Dawah works. It's not actually, people aren't actually paying attention to what the argument is and what the response is. They're paying attention to how confident someone sounds, and that's why hijab really took off. I mean, he's like the king of like chest thumping. "Ha ha! I'm spouting complete nonsense, but I'm humiliating everybody!" Rah! And they all go, "Wow, our hero!" And so that tells us something about the fan base. But I mean, think about this situation right here. It's, I mean, you're right. It's that. So he has his wife that he has kids with and so on. And then he got caught with a secret additional wife. She caught him. And you could tell by this clip that he obviously has been doing this for a long time and been cycling through various wives and so on. He's the expert on who takes it best and so on. But apparently he got in trouble, and then his wife separated from him, and then he like promised he'd never do it again. And of course he's doing it again, and he's been exposed for doing it again. And so, yeah, that's the situation. But I mean, think about this. I mean, you're talking about like the power imbalance. When they're talking about the revert sisters, where are these revert sisters learning what they're supposed to do? From the Dawah guys. So you can kind of just convince them to go along with anything you want, and they're thinking of this as part of that. They have to do this as part of their religion. And you could see it, because we actually had discussions with one of hijab's ex-wives, Sister Aisha, and you could see, I mean, she wanted to get married and have a family and have a home and do great things. And he told her, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We're going to have a family and this and that and so on. And then they consummate the marriage. And then he tells her, no, actually, I just want you as a secret hotel wife. You are only here for sex. We're not going to have a home. I'm not going to provide for you. You are just here to pleasure me as the man. And that is your job. That is your job for the rest of your life. No, you don't get a home. No, you don't get anything. No, I'm never going to take care of you. I am using you for sex. And it's weird. It's like that's what they're doing to women. That's their plan for the revert sisters. And his objection to her is probably, well, look, she went and she raised a big ruckus over this. See, the revert sisters, you can actually program them to where they won't criticize you. And it's just, really, these are the guys telling everyone the truth about how they're supposed to live. You're turning women into prostitutes, man.
I want to also say,
and your property, your sexual property.
I saw the stream today, and someone accused you of being a racist. I'm sorry. What I just heard here was the most racist, most bigoted stuff. What he's doing is he's objectifying women. Who are these so-called reverts? These are people of European ancestry, clearly. That's primarily what we're talking about. You know, it's so disgusting. It's so bigoted. It's so hateful. And you're like, I'm going to exploit these women who are looking for God. They're looking for God. They're looking for a relationship, a relationship with the divine. They're trying to have fulfillment. And instead, you're sexually exploiting them for your own means. It's so disgusting and gross. People who use God to exploit women. I don't know. I just, it hurts.
Someone commented, they don't have to provide for these wives. The British taxpayer has to. Yeah, that's another thing. Since the marriages aren't official before the state, they're not recognized by the state. They only happened, between the two parties and so on, and then the witness and all that. These women are officially like single mothers. And so they can be paid, they can be covered by the government because they're officially just single mothers. And I remember this was like 15 years ago when I read this, but I wish I'd saved this article. But it was pointing out how in the Muslim world, in lots of places in the Muslim world, you can marry 2, 3, 4 women, but most people can't do it because you have to be pretty wealthy. You have to be able to provide houses for different women and so on. And unless you're wealthy, you can't do that. But it became understood in parts of the Muslim world that if you can just get to Europe, if you can just get over to Europe, you can have your marriages in the mosque. And all your wives are officially single mothers and stuff. And so the government will pay for them. So, yeah, you can't do it. You can't do it where you're from. But if you can get to Europe, you can have 2, 3, or 4 wives and the government will pay for them. So definitely want to get there and stuff. So crazy how this stuff is being incentivized. But
and I think it's a strange, this thing called like this so-called Dawah. What are you doing? Are you helping people who are disenfranchised? It's funny, in the place where I work, you know where I mostly work? I live in a city that's very Muslim. But most of the charity work I see being done is mostly done by Christians and Jews. There's very little Muslim charity work, which is extremely problematic. There is some, but it's far less than it should be. Like, there should be people who are like, hey, I want to serve the unhoused. I want to make sure people have resources, they have food. And, you know, I go to this like Christian center mostly like every day that I can. I'm like a VIP there because I volunteer there a lot. But I do soup kitchens and I serve food to these unhoused people, and they do it literally every day. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They serve these men, and there's some women that come, but every single day they do that. There's this other place that there's a lot of places like that, and I've served at a lot of these places, and all they do is they serve food. And, you know, sometimes they preach and they sing gospel songs and stuff like that. And I think that's totally fine because I'm like, you know, you're serving these people. That's much better, what you want to call Dawah, whatever, Christian or Muslim Dawah, whatever. Put your money where your mouth is. Sitting around and just taking money from people and, you know, saying I have, like, I remember the Central Dawah had some plan where you pay $20 and and you can learn how to beat Christians up. I'm like, this is what you're doing. You're spending your life doing is you're paid $20 for my website every month and you can learn how to beat Christians.
Nice. Yeah. Good luck with that, Central Dawah. Oh, by the way, our we don't live in New York anymore, but our church in New York was super cool. It was in Queens, New Life Fellowship in Queens, and they made a like free medical center in the basement, but they also had a place where homeless people could come into the church during the week. And so you're a homeless person, you can walk into the church. You take your clothes off, put a robe on, take a shower. While you're taking a shower and eating a meal, they wash your clothes for you and stuff like that. And then you finish up and put your clothes back on and so on. But I mean, it was amazing because I mean, you had like PhD professors from universities in there washing the clothes of people in the community and stuff like that. And there was something right about all that. There was something cool and right about all that. All right, let's jump back into this.
I'm with you too. I've served with medical doctors, and I did one called Broad Street Ministries, and that's what they do. They get clothes for people, they get food for people, they help people. I'm like, that's what I believe in. I believe in serving others who are in need. And it's so sickening when I see this. It's like, no, what I'm hearing is the opposite. How do I exploit people? How do I take advantage of women?
That is
How do I
Dawah.
sexually exploit them? It's so disgusting. I'm like, you're not going out and saying, hey, I got this money. And then I remember we did that New Year's thing where one of the guys did a Ponzi scheme. I'm actually studying detecting financial crime, and he did the fraud triad. But, he took advantage of people and he exploited people, and he said, you'll do halal banking. And then he stole all the money. It was so sickening and evil. And then he's like, I'm so sorry. Yeah, you're sorry because you got caught. You're not sorry that you took all that money, man.
Yeah. All right, back to our good friend Mohammed Hijab breaking down Dawah wise for us.
From my experience of observing the situation, I thought it's so, every community has their thing, and I think the Pakistanis are the least likely to do it. Like the older generation Pakistanis and Bengalis and stuff, they're least likely to do it. I haven't really seen that many, but now the Salafis are doing it. Salaf Pakistanis are doing it. Salaf Pakistanis are doing it. It's more possible in the Salafi communities, I think, than the Deobandi communities and the.
Would you say it's like half? Is it 50% or more?
Who?
Of all shuyukh, imams, and du'at?
Much less than that.
Much less.
The du'at, I would say it's about 85%.
Well, that's way more than 50%.
That's interesting. So he asked him about sheikhs, and he said less than 50%. And he said the Dawah guys, he estimates around 85%. So keep that in mind. He's talking about differences in different communities and so on, but he's pointing out, Dawah guys, we're pretty much all doing this. Interesting.
No, the dais. Who have
dais, shuyukh, imams, that whole class.
Either who are in it or have done it. The dais that I've come across in like proper mashayikh and stuff like at that level, 80%.
Yeah, that's compared to the U.S. That's very high. Like I don't think that over here it even reaches 50%.
So if people like all the, honestly, but most of the big names of Dawah have at least done polygamy once. Most of them, if not, like every person that you can think of, like almost the big names, and people.
I mean, think about what he's saying. All the big names. So Mohammed Hijab, Ali Dawah, all these guys. He just put it all out there. All of us are doing this. All of us are doing this in the Dawah community. Interesting stuff. Daniel's just loving it. Yeah, tell me more about how you guys are getting these revert sisters, and you're getting them saying, "Oh, come to the truth. It's the true religion. The truth. We got the truth." Now, shut up and be our sex slaves.
You wouldn't expect. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's surprising. Some people have like 20 kids.
Wow.
I know there's one dai who I won't mention, very famous dai. He's got 30 kids.
30 kids.
Wow. MashaAllah.
So
we'll let people imagine who.
Powerful. Dawah is very strong and awesome.
I say a'udhu billah to that, man. I seek refuge in God from a'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, from Satan the accursed. That is so terrible, man. That is so awful and disgusting and gross. You're like, I'm so proud of exploiting women and hurting women's hearts, and then tricking them into thinking I love them, and then just having a bunch of kids that I'm not going to take care of because I probably don't have a job. Like you and I, we spent good portion of our life going to school and learning, right? And getting educated and finding some way to take care of those who are around us. A lot of these people, they don't have lots of transferable skills, right? All they did is they learned some Arabic, they learned the script, they read some books, and they don't even really understand these books very well, but they learned that stuff, and they're charismatic and charming, put that in air quotes, and then they start saying these things, and then people are like, oh, this is so amazing. This is so good. You're talking about God. And then you're exploiting people. But if in reality, they can't actually contribute any really valuable thing to society. You know what I mean? If you think about that, can they do that? Can they actually give something of value to society?
They can have lots of kids, apparently, with all their wives and so on, in a steady stream of revert sisters.
And you're not going to take care of these children. You're not going to raise these children. Like, I've been a teacher. Like, I've raised children to a certain degree, like in school, and like I was teaching. I was supporting little kids, and it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And I've worked with children with special needs, and it's a lot of work, and they're not willing to do the work. The only work they want to do is the physical intimacy work. They're not interested, and it's not work that's fun for them. They're not actually interested in really raising children and being there with the family. That's a lot of work. It's duty, so.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking of someone like, that's kind of the point of this live stream. So thinking of Sister Aisha, we had a couple of long discussions with Muhammad Hijab's ex-wife, Sister Aisha, and having a conversation with her, and she's like, she's clearly intelligent. She's clearly intelligent, and what does she want in life? She wanted to have a family, have a home, and do dawah. And she's told, no, none of that. None of that. You're going to do what I say, because I'm the one who is manipulating you right now. And it's like, you're taking people who could be doing something and crushing everything they want out of life and saying, nope, this is what you're going to be for your religion. And what you really mean is that here's what I want you to be, and I'm using this to control you and shape you into what I want you to be. And it's just crazy stuff. Because guys, this isn't some weird person. He's pointing out all the Dawah guys are doing this. Basically, they're all doing the exact same thing. And it was interesting on the live stream we had earlier. Jai and DOC were pointing out there was some TikTok video where it was a Muslim woman complaining about all the Dawah guys who were telling them what to do. You have to do this and have to do that. And she was complaining. She's pointing out that they're actually telling the women, you have to be like fully covered even when you're at home, just in case someone's looking through the window at you and stuff. And so this wouldn't be the problem for the person looking through the window. This would be, you're a bad woman. You're a bad woman if you're not fully covered, even if you're home by yourself or something like this, because someone might see you through a window or something like that. And the woman's like, it just sounds like at the end of the day, you don't even want us to exist. You're telling us all these things and everything is on us. And it sounds like you hate us and you don't want us to exist. And the comments were tons of women just pointing out like what evil scumbags these Dawah guys are. And it's would be really, really good if women start catching on to what they're dealing with here. These are not heroes, ladies. They're not here to help you get closer to God or anything like that. You are playthings for them, and they treat you like prostitutes. And a different direction. We'll check out Ali Dawah here. Check out Ali Dawah, then we'll check out some super chats. Then we'll go on to compare all of this with God Logic and Lady Logic. Let's see Ali Dawah first, though. This is Ali Dawah and his wife. What's up?
I wanted to say one quick thing to add to what you were saying. It sounds like The Handmaid's Tale. Do you know about that? There's this show where it's like this dystopic future where women are like breeders.
Oh, really?
Men.
Oh, I didn't know what that was. I heard everyone complaining about that. I mean, applying that to all sorts of situations with women. But for some reason, I thought it was like a medieval show. But you're saying it's like a dystopic future show.
It's a future dystopic show. And it sounds just like what you're talking about. It's like, you're just a breeder. You don't have any value. You're not human. I'm going to dehumanize you, take away your value. That's what I'm hearing. These words that I'm hearing are making me feel sick. Like, it's so disgusting and gross. This is not you're not treating this person as your partner. They're like your object. They're your possession. They're not your partner. And that's, I don't know. That's sick.
All right. So now we have Ali Dawah. We heard what Muhammad Hijab thinks about women. And guys, we went through the scandal that followed because Hijab convinced this woman that she could have a life with him, a family with him, and so on. Then once he got what he wanted, he informed her that none of that stuff is actually going to happen. You are just here whenever I want you for sex in the hotel. That's it. That's your life from now on. She refused. To her credit, she refused, got out of that relationship, and then she tried everything to try and deal with the situation behind the scenes without exposing hijab. She wanted women to know it was happening, not with hijab in particular, just she wanted women to know that there were men who were taking advantage of them and that they need to guard themselves against men who are just trying to manipulate them. So that's all she wanted. Hijab shut that down. He wouldn't even let her get that message out. And so she eventually decided, well, I'm going to have to expose him. And she absolutely crushed him. She absolutely crushed him. In fact, I suspect part of the reason, as Giant DOC were pointing out, that so many women are speaking up about the Dawah guys now, I think they're catching on. And I think a lot of that had to do with Sister Aisha warning everyone and women catching on that these guys, they're not here for your good, ladies. They're here to use and abuse you. And they laugh about it and they brag about it and they think it's great. And they all pat each other on the backs and high five each other for what they're doing. And this is bad. This is bad. These are terrible, terrible people doing this. All right, so let's check out Ali Dawah. So we heard from Muhammad Hijab. And now we're going to see Ali Dawah in his perfect marriage with one of his wives, apparently, since all the Dawah guys are doing it. Here we go.
I have my wife on my right. Assalamu alaikum. Hope you well, inshallah. She's not going to be in the video, but she's going to have her say with this whiteboard that I bought her. But why is the default that the woman is...
So this is from a longer video where they're having a discussion about some gossip stuff. These are just some clips of her communicating through the whiteboard that Ali Dawah bought for her. This is his wife. This is how his wife communicates using a whiteboard. So here we go.
Listen, and the man is always guilty. Okay, that's something my wife wants to say. Salama probably had enough, as women give a lot of chances, has zero tolerance now.
And as far as him like fumbling over the words, I don't know if that means like she's not good at writing or spelling, or if it's just Ali Dawah and he's barely literate. So I don't know. She might be writing perfect prose and he's just barely literate. Don't know.
Okay, this is why I want you here. Yeah, it's very important.
You see him grinning. This is why I want you here. That's a smile for all his friends. Isn't this funny? Isn't this funny how I got this woman trained? Isn't this awesome? Look at his grin.
For you to be here. Yes, just to take the past traumas of their father or ex-husband, etc., and project it on other people. So, okay, she's saying she made the video, not him. I don't know his opinion. Well, exactly. There you go. Okay. There's nothing else I have to say. Anything you'd like to say? If you do, just let me know, inshallah. The Prophet, peace be upon him, told us. He went to the hellfire. Again, I know you guys are going to be like, oh, it's a reality check. Okay. And he saw a majority of the women of the hellfire. Why? He said, not because they are ungrateful to Allah, because they are ungrateful to their husbands.
So you'd better do exactly what your husband, if Muhammad Hijab says you're going to be nothing but a hotel wife for the rest of your life until I get sick with you, I'm going to kick you to the curb. You better not be disrespectful towards him, ladies. You heard it here from Ali Dawah, who only has your best interest at heart.
Anything that I said wrong is from Shaitan and myself. Anything good is from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If there's anything you disagree on, no. Okay. Are you under any duress? You can blink twice. No. Okay, that's fine. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh from myself and my dear wife. May Allah bless you for your contributions. It's a pleasure and an honor.
So, guys, he actually marries a girl and reduces her to a nameless, faceless, voiceless blob beside him. This is the ideal for him. Again, I'll say it. I said it earlier. We're not saying that this is how all women are treated. And so this is the goal for the Dawah guys. And for him, this is like a status symbol. Like this is what impresses the Muslim men around him. Look at how I've got her trained. I've got her trained like a dog. a well-trained dog. She doesn't speak. She doesn't speak or do anything unless I tell her to. That's a huge status symbol for him. It's like, you see, you guys all need to be following me and supporting me because I'm the one who can train you how to train these ladies. And that's how he treats, again, his wife. His wife.
Do you know what's interesting about this? He says that he's a convert. He's not really a convert. Or a revert, I guess. His family is Muslim. They were Ismailis, but he believes that Ismailis aren't real Muslims. And I have to give Mr. Tommy Robinson, I think that's his name, right? Mr. Tommy Robinson put him in check, and he was like, "You keep saying your family's not Muslim. They are Muslim. You're basically attacking your family, and Ismaili Muslims are way better than whatever this kind of Muslim is. They're very nice. They're very kind. I don't know if you know who the Aga Khan is, but like they do a lot of good work where they have hospitals, and they're kind of, the way they practice their Islamic tradition is different than, like a standard Sunni. They come from like a Shia perspective, but
Ismailis on average seem much more sane, much more intelligent than like the standard like Salafi Dawah guys that I've seen.
I had a very close friend who was Ismaili that I used to like spend a lot of time with, and she was really just a very sweet person. And it's like that it's just wild to hear the way that he talked about his own family, and he's like, I'm the real Islam now. And he's like, and you said it yourself, you said he believed in scientific miracles, which is utterly preposterous and ridiculous. I'm like, you think that the Quran, like, so I'm studying science right now. I'm doing another program too. I'm doing a program at community college. Also, I'm doing two programs.
Hey, you're not gonna be one of those guys who's like a student for 50 years and has like 39 degrees and.
I might be, unless I get married. If I get married, then it's all of that's good. There's going to be a kibosh. I think I'm doing this before I get married, but I do a lot of studies because I'm interested in hopefully running for office and helping create policies that will help the community. That's my goal at some point. But
we could get you some vote. We can get you some voters, man.
Oh, thank you.
We got YouTube, man. We got YouTube.
My goal my first initiative is to fix these roads. It doesn't matter if you're Democrat or Republican. People want roads that work and that don't break, their cars won't break down when they're driving on the road. That's a really important, case. So thank you so much. I appreciate that. But it's like, that's the thing that I find so bizarre and weird when I listen to these people. I'm like, you're just saying stuff that makes no sense. Like I heard Nadir Ahmed bring up this point about the vas deferens. I'm like, you don't know anything about biology, dude. Yeah, no. You didn't go to school to study science. Like I've taken many classes in science at community college, and I would say there's still a lot that I don't know. But I'm like, brother, I know you didn't go to school to study science.
No, Nadir, no. And it's interesting because it's a parallel to their view of women. Women are there not to be honored or respected or lifted up or anything else. They're there for whatever use we can put them to. But that's how it is with everything for these guys. Like science. Science is not something to be learned to understand the universe. It's how can learning this thing about science help me become a more popular Dawah guy by using some argument that's completely bogus to anyone who actually understands the science. But my viewers don't know anything about science. And so when I say that's different, they go, oh my goodness, he really knows what he's talking about. He's so smart. And I mean, fortunately, it never worked for Nadir. He's just never become popular. But it has worked for other people. And Ali Dawah, that's what's amazing about this, Issa. Ali Dawah. So he, to his credit, one of the few things I can ever say to his credit with Ali Dawah for, he said that the scientific miracles argument has been debunked and told Muslims to stop using it. What was especially creepy about that video, however, was he said, the scientific miracles argument is what Allah used to bring me to Islam. Then I found out it's been debunked, and so I stayed in Islam for other reasons. And I'm thinking when he says that, I'm like, wait a minute. You say the argument is bogus. It's a bogus argument. It's been debunked. but you believe that God used that argument, which you acknowledge was deception. You acknowledge that all these scientific miracles is all made up. That's what got you to convert to Islam, even though you're raised in a family, you don't consider them real Muslims and so on. So this is what got you to real Islam, according to you. But you believe in a God who tricked and deceived you into converting to the religion. The reason this is creepy is you wonder why you catch these Dawah guys lying so much, like it's a sport. I've said it before. I spent years in prison. I never in prison. There are all kinds of like games. There are awesome con men in there. I've never seen anyone who lies as freely as the Dawah guys. Why is that? It's because there's no consequences for Dawah guys. Everyone else, there are consequences, right? In the Dawah community, you get exposed lying 1,000 times. It doesn't matter. It's like, it's understood. Of course we lie. If we're lying and it helps people get to Islam, what's the problem? You've helped them. You've done good by lying to them and so on. So these guys lie left and right, and they could get exposed 1,000,000 times. It doesn't bother their fans even slightly. Whereas anyone else, if you're lying and you get exposed as a liar, well, now you're done. Your con game is over. And so normal people understand we have to be pretty careful. We got to be pretty careful about lying. Otherwise, we'll be exposed as liars. We don't want that. The Dawah community, they just don't care. But it kind of makes sense. If you believe that Allah uses your lies to get people to Islam, then you think lying is fine. And so this is just really, really, really... Dawah's creepy, man. I have to say, man, seems demonic to me. Seems demonic.
I think it's a fair word. It's very sickening. And, these are people that if they had power, power corrupts absolutely.
Gosh.
Power corrupts absolutely. It would be so dangerous. I actually saw one of your old videos from a long time ago. Somehow it came up. And you had this video where you were talking to Anjem Chowdhury. And the solicitor or the barrister from the UK, the Pakistani one, and the things he was saying were like horrendously bad. Like they were so vile. And I went and saw what this guy was saying. I think they put him in jail. He said some terrible things. Like he was like, it's okay to be a parasite here in the UK. It's okay to take advantage of people. These people who are supporting you, taking advantage of them. Like to me, that's vile and evil in and of itself. That someone helps you and then you exploit them. That's not a good person. That's a very bad person. And I don't care what your religion is. If you think it's okay to exploit people, you're not good. You're not good. And he was saying he openly was okay with exploiting, and it was just sickening, like listening to what these people are saying and exploiting the women, exploiting the people around them. Like in my city, we have a huge community of people like this, and they do this polygamy stuff. And the way that they do it, it's fraud, I think. But what they do is they say, well, we can have multiple girlfriends, right? Legally, we can have multiple girlfriends. And we will get married at the masjid. So I'll get the nikah, the certificate of nikah of marriage, and I will marry all these women. And most of these women are women who are... They're born in situations where they don't have a lot of resources. So it's very difficult for them. And so these guys prey on them and they're like, oh, I'll take care of you. You'll be my wife, instead of just, someone to exploit me, and they exploit the system. They get on welfare and Section 8 housing. So they use these systems and they exploit these systems. And it's really vile. I'm like, if someone considers wanting to have multiple partners, I'm like, you better have some money, bro. You better have some stockpile of cash, if you're even considering something like that. But a lot of these people don't have anything. They don't have a system of making any resources, and they're just exploiting the systems they're in. And it's like, I don't know what to call it, but vile. I could never do that. I wouldn't even consider like marrying someone if I don't have a way of supporting them. Maybe I'm old fashioned, but I believe in that. I'm like, I have to be able, if I'm going to have a partner, I'm going to have to be able to take care of them, and I have to be able to take care of the children. I have to have those resources available,
On the issue of Anjem Chowdhury, it's actually pretty creepy. When he's talking about like being a parasite and so on, people like Anjem Chowdhury have the view that this goes back to the Hadith. It's actually connected to the Quran. So in the Quran, Surah 5, verse 33, you have the claim about if people are spreading corruption or making mischief in the land, that there are various penalties depending on the severity of making mischief in the land. but it can be crucifixion, just regular execution, dismemberment, or exile from the land, depending on the severity of the mischief making. But you go to the Hadith and you have Muhammad saying that whoever pays for a person who's going out and doing something, if you fund a soldier to go out and fight, you get a reward equal to the soldier who goes out and fight. So if you're, if a jihadi wants to go out and fight, but he doesn't have a weapon or doesn't have any armor or anything like this, and you pay for him to have that so he can go out and fight, you get a reward equal to his. But the idea there is the people who fund what's going on are equally responsible for what happens. And so in the mindset, and I had to figure this out, where they're getting this stuff from back in the day, but I got it all. In the mindset of people like Anjum Chowdhury, who's making mischief in Muslim lands? Well, the British government, among others. The U.S. government's making mischief in Muslim lands, doing all sorts of things. The UK government's making mischief in Muslim lands. French government's making mischief in Muslim lands. So they're all making mischief in Muslim lands. The penalty for the people who are making mischief is death. But according to Muhammad, it's not just the person who is out there doing the fighting or whatever else, or dropping the bombs or anything else. It's the person who funds that. Ultimately, it's the taxpayer. What's that mean? It means if you're a Muslim and you work a regular job, you pay taxes to the government, you're contributing to the mischief in the Muslim land, you're in trouble with Allah too. Therefore, what do? You don't do something where you're actually going to be paying taxes. You leech off the system. Do not work a regular job, because then you'll be paying taxes and you'll be funding the mischief making in Muslim countries. And then you're in all kinds of trouble. So just leech off the system until you take over the system. That's how it works.
Do you know there's an interesting author? There's a Palestinian Christian author, and he's one of my favorites. His name's Wael B. Halak, and he wrote a book called The Impossible State. And basically his thesis is that no modern nation state can be an Islamic state. He's like, the ancient Islamic states, it can't exist now. It exists within the time of the Age of Empire. That's just the way that it was. So basically his argument is that every modern state that have Muslim majorities are not Islamic states. And he says it's just an impossible thing. He's quite brilliant. He's actually, a lot of Islamic institutions that are scholarly teach his work, because he's kind of a very brilliant author.
Oh, this is very interesting. Just saw it. Let me see. Where'd it go? This is breaking news, guys. Breaking news. Someone just pointed out there. I did not know this. At all. Let me see if I can find the comment, because I saw it a minute ago and then it scrolled, and then I was looking it up to see if it's right. Here we go. By the way, they got the guy that killed Salwan. And I just looked it up. But yeah, Reuters says Swedish prosecutor identifies suspect in Quran burner murder case. So I'm just seeing this for the first time. It says a suspect has been identified in the murder of an anti-Islam campaigner in Sweden in January, the public prosecutor said on Monday, a case that the Swedish prime minister has said might have links to foreign powers. We have a good picture of the sequence of events, and after extensive technical investigations and review of obtained surveillance footage, the prosecutor said in a statement, at present, the suspect's whereabouts are unknown. So apparently they know who it was, but they don't know where he is. I'll just finish reading this. The statement did not name the suspect. Well, that's smart. If you know who he is, you don't want to name him, because then everyone can inform him that he needs to get out of there. Court documents obtained by Reuters showed the suspect was a 24-year-old Syrian man who lived in Sweden at the time of the murder. It said Quran burner Salwan Momika had been shot 3 times, and the killing had been preceded by careful planning. 1 second, an ad popped up. A detention hearing was set for Friday in a district court, a procedure under Swedish law prior to the issuance of an international wanted notice for the suspect. So it sounds like he got out of there, and that they're issuing a warrant for him to be arrested wherever he's found. Interesting. Take a couple super chats, and then we're going to check out God Logic and Lady Logic, ladies and gentlemen. If someone was never a Muslim, how can one become a revert? Most of these people fall in that category. I don't understand. Yeah, as Issa was pointing out, there's a belief very common among Muslims because it's in the Hadith. But everyone is born as a Muslim, and then your parents basically lead you astray. And so when you become a Muslim, you eventually decide to become a Muslim. Well, you were already a Muslim when you were born. And so they don't say it converting, they call it reverting, meaning going back to what you were before. And it's just, I mean, it's silly. I've seen atheists do this too. It's like, you're born as atheist because you lack belief in God when you're born. So when we say become an atheist, you're just saying go back to your natural state. And it's like, guys, babies don't have like beliefs, right? They don't have beliefs yet. They haven't formulated their belief systems and so on, or positions on various topics. And when when you say, when you define atheist as lack of belief, it's like, okay, this marker lacks belief, so I guess this marker's an atheist. But you actually have atheists who will say that, yep, that is an atheist. It's weird, wild stuff. Where's Avery's wife? I want to ask her what she thinks about her husband having a girl's name. Is Avery a girl's name? I'm trying to think. Is that one of those names that can be both? I'm trying to think.
It's both. There are women who have the name Avery, but it's not a female.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't know. There's not a lot of Averys. So, but we'll ask. I'm starting to wonder if everyone really deserves freedom of religion or speech. Adams' quote about the Constitution being, John Adams, being for a moral and religious people really hits me. Where's the line? Why should Satanists or Muslims have the same rights? I'm in favor of freedom of religion and freedom of speech, but Adam's point was if people do not handle their freedoms responsibly, the system's going to break down. In other words, if you have a general, here's the thing, you can have exceptions, right? So if most of the population is handling their freedoms responsibly, and then some people don't, occasionally people don't, then you can deal with those situations. If the general population just starts using their freedoms for whatever pops into their head, he said the system's gonna break down, and you're not gonna have those freedoms. Why? Because everyone's gonna be going in their own way, doing their own thing. It's gonna lead to more chaos, and a tyrant's gonna take over, and people will pick a tyrant. People will go with a tyrant over chaos. People do not want chaos at the end of the day, and they will gladly go with a tyrant who maintains order than having no order, and it's every man for himself. So that's sort of the question of our generation. Are we going to be able to handle these freedoms responsibly, or are we going to lose them? Just getting my super chat in before the stream gets zooted. Yeah, it might. Apparently people just get stuff shut down. Tommy Robinson in Israel did an event, red-pilled 1,000 Jews about Islam, thanked Robert Spencer about his Islam knowledge. Robert can use it as PR clip. Oh, yeah, I'll check that out then. I don't know has anyone told Robert? Mr. Kabeer, it's easy to understand. You're a chef. Oh, this is talking about cooking. You're a chef. You're a chef or you're the entree. You're holding the pot or you're inside it. Avery's a cook.
I mean, I understand that, but maybe I was being kind of facetious. But the point that I'm saying is that a lot of these Muslim Dawagandists, I guess, so they come in and they're like, I'm cooking. And I'm like, what are you cooking? Like, I think the thing is, it's like saying you're lying. It's like you're taking these words that have like power, but you don't understand what the words mean. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they think, because Avery uses it and it has like this impact, so they steal the word and they use it and they think it has the same impact. Like, I went on a TikTok stream once and they're like, I'll give you $200 or something if you can prove me wrong, right? And they're like, I'll give you $200 if you can prove Jesus is not a Muslim. And I'm like, you're just imitating these other people. You're not, this isn't a fresh, unique idea. You're taking your opponent's idea, imitating it, and not understanding why they're doing it and the elements and the impacts of what they're doing. You're just blindly following because you see that they are getting an impact. So you think if you imitate them, it's like a knockoff movie. Like you take Star Wars and you take the Turkish Star Wars, right? The Turkish Star Wars imitates the original Star Wars. They take even the original clips from the what is it called? A New Hope. But they don't understand what Star Wars is. They don't understand the impact of it, you know? So they're just imitating it.
Turkish Rambo was awesome, though.
There is Turkish Rambo.
There's Turkish
yes.
Rambo.
they imitate the thing, but they don't actually understand why it's popular. And it's sad and it's hilarious at the same time.
Yeah, with Avery, I mean, people have been talking about cooking like forever, like my entire life. Like old songs and stuff, talking about even rap songs, talking about cooking other MCs and stuff like that. Avery is, he just makes it his own and popularizes it, and it kind of becomes like identified with him. So hats off to him. But no one should be stealing all of Avery's stuff just because it works for him. Guys, you are not God Logic. All you Dawah guys, you're not God Logic. You can't do it. It'll never work for you like it works for him. Otherion here says they have named him Syrian-born Bashar Zakur. So apparently, after the Reuters article, his name has been released, Bashar Zakur. So be interesting following that story. So you're a Muslim, Jewish, Catholic. Interesting. You're not Catholic, are you? You're not Catholic.
Well, it's interesting. My advisor.
You can't be everything, man.
No, you're funny. It's funny, but I do have my advisor. I actually got published in a Catholic comic book where the Pope meets the president of Kurdistan. So it's like a Pope meets the president. That's like the name of the book, and I'm a contributor in the comic book. So it's pretty cool. So my advisor was Catholic, so I'm pretty well versed on Second Vatican and Nostra Aetate, and so an interfaith through that lens. So it's kind of cool.
Hi, Issa. The Bible condemns the Quran's acceptable practices in general. I'm really sad when I see abuse of any kind from anyone. It seems that many Muslims promote abuse and hide or excuse it. That's not love.
I agree. I think that's wrong. I think it's, if someone uses a text to abuse other people, I don't care. Like it's not acceptable. And they're doing that. It's like these people don't even have an ethical, moral foreground of who they are. They don't know who they are as people. So what they do is they rely on these texts to justify doing what they do. They don't actually know what's ethical and moral. They don't know what's good. And they're not interested in becoming good people. They're interested in, it's like this mercantilism of stuff. You want spiritual stuff. When I die, I want a bunch of stuff. I want women, I want gold, I want lakes of wine, and it's just a pursuit. The whole goal, it's not for God. They're not interested in God. They're interested in getting stuff. And I don't know, that seems like a very sickening kind of plan, that you're like, even if you're helping someone who's disenfranchised, you're doing it so you'll get points, you'll get a mansion in heaven. And I'm like, I don't know, I'm really not into that. I think it's gross.
Sadly, Islam is the devil's most successful project. All he had to do was tap into human ignorance, fleshly desires, and mix in some truth from the Bible. How much do you agree with that, Issa?
Well, if you've seen my debates in general, I think Islam is pluralistic. I think there are aspects of Islam that are very akin to that element. I'm not going to deny that. I believe in being accountable.
Hey, actually, we're going to talk about that next week, because we're going to get your thoughts on the Islamic dilemma. We'll pick a clip from the Dawah guys, go through one of their responses to the Islamic dilemma, and get your thoughts. I've been saying for a little while here that if I were to somehow believe that the Quran is the word of God, I couldn't ignore what it says about the previous scriptures, and therefore I would have to somehow harmonize them. And that what I would probably come up with is that that God gave different revelations to different peoples and so on, as the Quran says in Surah 5, verse 48, to have different groups who could compete with each other in good works, or something along those lines. And I said, I don't know Issa's position, but if I could think of anyone who might be thinking in that direction, it would be Issa. But we'll find out, ladies and gentlemen. We'll check that out. Check that out next weekend.
It's a mystery. I do think it's wild though. Like I've listened to I saw your debate with Daniel and it was horrendous. Like it was just really bad. Like I was like, you're not actually addressing these points. All you're doing is you're taking a defensive mode where you're like, well, it's a phantom text, and the Arabic doesn't say that. Let me take the Arabic defense, because if I use that, I'm like, dude, then you can't talk about these other texts because you don't know Hebrew, you don't know Greek, so you need to hold yourself accountable. Don't talk about that these people don't know Arabic because you can't talk about their text because you don't know Hebrew and you don't know Greek, bro. So hold yourself to your same standard. You don't know these languages, you don't know the context, and then what you do is you prey on other people's scholarship and say, well, the scholar said this. And I'm like, but you're not a scholar to understand the scholars. Like, you're not even in this space. You're just manipulating scholars to fit your agenda, and you don't even understand. A lot of these people, you made a very good argument where you said there are certain kind of Dawagandists that quote scholarly texts, but what they do is they don't actually represent the scholar's perspective. Like, you and I, we've done scholarship, so we know about abstracts, we know about the limitations of the study, we know that all of these things are within academic papers, right? So if you're looking at an academic paper, you can't just come in and be like, I'm going to cherry pick something from the academic paper that suits what I'm saying. You have to represent the entire academic paper. That's why people spend years going to college or getting a doctorate, because it's a lot of hard work. And it's a skill to understand what these academic papers are. It's not like I'm going to Google you become a Google shake. You go and you look up the paper and you say, oh, this paper has some line that agrees with what I'm saying. You pull out the line. You don't know what the line means in the context and you misrepresent it. Like I watched a debate with a person who was representing Dawah versus Hinduism, and they looked at Hindu texts and they misrepresented. Every single argument against Hinduism was invalid. None of that stuff was true, and they misrepresented all the scholars that they pulled because they didn't actually understand the scholar. All they did was they Googled something incendiary about Hinduism, and then they were like, let me misrepresent Hinduism. It's gross.
That's Dawah in a nutshell. Let's see. Issa, Jesus loves you. Shalom from South India.
Vanakkam, namaste. How are you?
So sitting around and degrading women is Dawah. Yeah, actually, it kind of is. That's the Dawah geared towards young men. The point of the stream between like Muhammad Hijab and Daniel Hakikachu, where he's sitting there bragging about the revert sisters and having all these extra that's an advertisement for Dawah, right? Hey guys, young guys, you need to get into Dawah. Look what you can do. Look what you can do in Dawah. Now, when they are targeting women, totally different message. It's not, hey, join this so we can use it however you want. It's, oh, Islam respects women unlike everyone else, and we're the only religion that respects women. And you look at how they treat them, and it's all deception. I wonder which was more fun for Chomo Momo, the many wives, or the exciting adventures of Al-Zut. What's wrong with people, man? Trying to have a serious program about the mistreatment of women in Dawah, and people think it's Comedy Central here. Hijab seems to mean himself. He has 20 to 30 kids. Oh, I don't know. I don't know how many kids he's got. So I guess the idea there is when he said there was someone who has 30 kids and some of the dais have 20 kids, that he was talking about himself. Have you heard of Sonny Faz? No. White American convert YouTuber, one of the most annoying Dawah guys. Mix of Nick Fuentes and Sneeko with some Dawah. Not familiar with him. But be happy to review some clips at some point. What's up?
That picture is super wild of that last...
Orthodox lips? Oh, yeah.
Oh, that is wild. Why is this person calling themselves... I think I've seen this person before, Orthodox Muslim. I'm like, why are you calling yourself Orthodox?
Yeah.
That's not something that exists in classical Islamic tradition. It seems like you're imitating Christianity.
Yeah, so his channel's Orthodox Muslim, but we just kind of noticed that when he's posing for his pictures like this. It looks like he wants to give a kiss. And I said, and I just asked during a live stream, I was like, what'd they call it when ladies used to do that? They don't do it as much as they did like 10 years ago, but it became like the girls when they pose with their selfies. And I go, what was that called? And someone said duck lips. And I was like, oh yeah. And then we all started calling them orthoduck lips. And so that worked out well. It worked out well. Everything works out. Let's see. D Wood is jealous of Dawah guys having more girls. That's right. We're all jealous of the Dawah guys. Mike Winger has secret hotel Star Wars collections. Probably does. We can't prove that person with Ali isn't grapes to Jenna. Oh, that's a good point. So you may remember this way back when Ali Dawah had a sort of debate with AP, and Ali Dawah had someone feeding him grapes while AP was speaking, and I assumed it was a woman feeding him grapes because it would just seem extremely weird to have a guy feeding you grapes. But then people pointed out, nope, you can see the sleeve, and it's the same shirt that Smiles to Jenna was wearing later in another video. And so, yep, Ali Dawah. So how do we know the woman in Ali Dawah's video with the whiteboard isn't actually Smiles to Jenna? We don't. We will never know. Given Ali's strange intonation reading the whiteboard, I'm not convinced that it isn't scripted. It could be. It's strange disbelief that he isn't simply making up what he's reading, given how grimly comedic that skit is. Well, keep in mind, that's from a much longer video. Those are just the clips of interacting with the whiteboard. And the point here is the Dawah guys seek to reduce women to being whiteboards for them. I remember being taught that in Islam, a man could only have multiple wives if he could afford to provide for them and the children. Is that not true? Yeah, you're supposed to be able to provide. That's why I said earlier that it's understood in Muslim countries, you kind of can't do it. You kind of can't do it. If you're just a regular person, you're not going to be able to afford 3 or 4 houses or something like that. But if you can, the idea is, if you can get to a Western country, the government's going to be able to pay for it. So you are providing for them.
Well, the government is, though. So that's like weird. It's like, I think it's what the trick is that they use that kind of misyara marriage or nikah tasir or, muta marriage. You can use these kind of mechanisms where basically you can kind of get the woman to relieve her rights, and then the guy can exploit. It's exploitation. Yep. I don't. Yep. That's the only way that I've used this. It's you're exploiting women. Yep. Let's just call it what it is.
Yeah. And what you're actually told is that you have to be able to treat them fairly. You have to be able to treat your multiple wives fairly and stuff. So hey, if I've got the government providing for all of them, then I guess we're all good to go. And I'm meeting the requirements. This is a gem. Sahih al-Bukhari 5165. Let me see. Narrated Ibn Abbas. The Prophet said, if any one of you, when having sexual intercourse with his wife, says Bismillah, and says the rest of this, and if it is destined that they should have a child, then Satan will never be able to harm him. That's good to know. Seems like everyone should be doing that, and then Satan would never be able to harm anyone. That's good. Good plan. We'll see if it works. Put that into practice. If Allah creates every soul and by his qadr predestines belief and disbelief, why bring into being those he decreed would reject him only to punish them eternally for fulfilling his word? Paradox? Well, if you're talking about the Quran, it just says that Allah has decided, and this gets spelled out more in the hadith, that Allah decides long before you're born what you're going to do, whether you're going to believe or disbelieve. I actually heard Mary Harp. I'd have to see this verified. I'd have to actually look. I'd have to actually line up all the verses and so on. Mary Harp, she told me that, so Muhammad had his uncle during his early revelations. His uncle was still alive, and his uncle Abu Talib dies as a polytheist. And apparently Muhammad was all broken up, like he had failed. Like, hey, I had years to convince my uncle to convert to Islam, and he didn't, and he was all broken up. Mary Harp has said that if you look at, because some Quran verses seem like they're saying that you have free will and you just have to decide to follow Allah and obey Allah. Mary Harp's thesis is that those are the early revelations and that these were before the death of Abu Talib, and that after the death of Abu Talib, then it changes to Allah already decided who's going to believe and who's not going to believe, so it's not on you. And therefore, Muhammad just wasn't responsible. Again, I haven't looked at that. But I'll have to sit down and go through that because that would be interesting. Free Zudistan. There is no Zudistan, although there should be. Dawah episode 1, a phantom text. Yeah. The phantom text. Mr. Kabeer, how do you feel about Mike Winger?
I mean, I've just seen some of his YouTube videos. I don't really know the person very well, but you know,
you're supposed to say worst person ever, but Issa can't do it because he's too.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Excuse me. I know. If I said, "Oh, he's your twin," you'd be like, "Ah."
Issa, who's more cool, David Wood or Mike Winger?
Oh, I've got my brother right here, so we'll go with that.
Not even close, everyone. It's not even close. Not even close. I am a Muslim. This is pity money. Allah is King Jesus.
Okay.
Allah is King of Jesus. David is Lair like Kirk. Wow. David is Lair. I'm a Lair like Kirk.
What is? I think they're trying to say liar. I'm like, dude,
I know.
I'm sorry. I know you know. I'm sorry. I'm like, if you're gonna pay money for a super chat, maybe you should go through Grammarly. There's Chat GPT. There's ways of actually, proof checking for reading what you're gonna put because you embarrass yourself, man.
It would be funny if he's like, no, I'm saying you're a Lair.
You're a Lair, like
you're
Dragon's Lair.
Yeah.
You're a Dragon's Lair.
Yeah, I'm a Lair. David says, I remember Sonny Faz. He used to make videos of him and his mom reacting to Andrew Tate. I think he converted to Islam because Andrew Tate and Sneeko became Muslims. Well, how's that going for old Andrew Tate and Sneeko? He likes Mike Winger. Get the unbeliever. Nope, he already said he's the worst person ever. All right. We're ready to check out God Logic and his wife. This is God Logic and Lady Logic, Christina, and they were having a discussion after her debate. And that was seriously the first thing that popped into my mind when I was watching them. I was like, this is so radically different from what how the Dawah guys act towards their wives. So let's go ahead and check some of this out.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to God Logic Apologetics. I'm here with Lady Logic herself, man. She had an opportunity to hop on a panel with...
Hey, Avery, man. What is this, amateur hour? It's kind of like first day of knowing lighting is you don't have bright lights behind you. You have lights in front of you. So you're supposed to turn around. The light should be lighting you up, not lighting up everything behind you. See, these streamers, man, all they do is stream, and they miss the basic fundamental, of lighting. Or you just wait until the sun goes down.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to God Logic Apologetics. I'm here with Lady Logic herself, man.
I don't even know if I should tell people how dumb I am. All right, I'm going to go ahead and tell everyone how dumb I am. At any given point, like at least half of my brain power is focused on stupid little rabbit trails and so on that just never go anywhere. But you just call her Lady Logic. Lady Logic, right? So God Logic and Lady Logic. And everyone else, I'm assuming, would hear Lady Logic. Oh, that's cool. So God Logic and Lady Logic, and she's a debater, and so this is awesome. Oh my goodness. Let me put together what happens in my brain when I hear Lady Logic. Okay. How old are you, Issa?
I am 37.
37. So you are too young to remember. All right, guys, I'll try to be quick with this, but I want just once to tell people the stupid stuff that goes through my head every 5 seconds of every day that makes no sense at all. You ready? Here goes. So I hear Lady Logic. What do I think? Well, way back in the day, before your time, Issa, you had Cool Mo D and LL Cool J, right? They were rappers. And they had...
I know LL Cool J.
Okay.
He was in Deep Blue Sea. He was the star in that.
Okay, so you know him from movies and stuff. Yeah. So he started off as a rapper, and there's a reason people remember LL Cool J more than Cool Mo D. LL won their beef. They're posting diss tracks against each other. So I was on Cool Mo D's side. I was a Cool Mo D fan. So Cool Mo D, he published a diss track against LL called How You Like Me Now, right? Then LL responded with a diss track back, and that was Jack the Ripper. Then LL Cool J responded to that with a track called Let's Go, and I thought it was over. I thought he'd won because he has this long section where he goes through what LL stands, what the LL and LL Cool J stands for. And he has this section where he says, don't worry, you'll all understand. You'll understand where I'm going, but it won't make any sense. And that's kind of the point here. But Cool Mo D says in this section, he goes, you're trying to be me. Now, LL stands for lower level, lackluster, last, least, limp, lover, lousy, lame, latent, lethargic, lazy lemon, little logic, lucky leech, liver, lip, laborious louse on a loser's lips, live in limbo, lyrical lapse, low life with the loud raps, boy. You can't win, right? And so anyway, he has that section on what LL stands for, and he goes through all these combinations of LL and LL Cool J, right? But he had right there in the middle, it was little logic. So I hear Lady Logic. And what pops into my head? Well, you got Lady Logic, you got God Logic and Lady Logic. And if they had a kid, that kid would be Little Logic, right? But you can't call him Little Logic because that's a diss. And so, but it's the obvious name for a kid. If you've got God Logic and Lady Logic and they have a kid, you got to call him Little Logic, but you can't because that sounds like a diss. Right?
It's actually good now because rappers now are like Little Romeo, Little Bow Wow. Everybody's called Little now. It's
but you can't be Little Logic. You can't be Little Logic because it sounds like you have very little logic, right? So you can't call him that. But then I'm sitting there thinking, like, what are the odds that God Logic, he just came up with a name for his channel, but then because that's the name that's associated with him now, his wife would be Lady Logic. But that would make their kid Little Logic. What are the odds that their kid, the obvious name for their kid, which they can't use, would be something that Cool Mo D came up with in a diss track 30-some years ago?
That's wild.
That's the stupid thought. That's the stupid, pointless thought that pops into my head when Lady Logic, and then it's, Little Logic. Oh, that would be the name of their kid. And then, but you can't name the kid that and stuff. Anyway, really, really stupid stuff like that constantly going through my brain. I normally keep it to myself. I don't know why I just decided to.
No, I think that's awesome. But the way you could do is you put like an apostrophe. You give it because that's him.
Oh yeah,
Lil Logic. Apostrophe L, Lil Logic. You know.
Yeah. I gotta go. Lil Logic. Lil Logic.
I wanted to make one comment. I saw Christina and the young ladies debate the most.
Yeah, we're about to see some clips here.
Oh, we're gonna watch their debate.
No, they include some clips. Yeah. They include some clips in their little discussion here.
Because there was one comment I had about what the Muslim woman said, and I'm like, you actually buried yourself, ma'am. I don't think you should have brought that up.
Yeah,
I'll bring it up later if it's not shown, but it's a really powerful thing. She brings up a thing about Sufis, and I'm like, that's not good for you, babe. Like, you don't want to use this argument. It hurts you. But yes.
And so, I guess just to complete everyone's tutorial in the history of hip hop, I thought Cool Mo D won after Let's Go, But then LL Cool J responded with Mama Said Knock You Out. One of the greatest diss tracks of all time. Second only, in my opinion, second only to No Vaseline by Ice Cube the following year. And after LL came out with Mama Said Knock You Out, I switched sides and I was like, all right, cool, Mo D. Have fun in the Wild Wild West. The Wild Wild West. The Wild Wild West. All right, back to this video. I can't believe I just take 10 minutes to explain
That was awesome, dude.
20 random
great.
seconds in my stupid head.
Old school rap is so. Have you ever seen Crush Groove? Like, it's older than me, but
Way back
it's
in
like
the day, yeah.
yeah, it's a great movie. Like, my buddy was really big into old hip hop, old school hip hop. So I got stuck listening to, like, where they rap real slow, they got a nice rhyme, lyrically they flow because they're inclined. Like, it's like it's very
Do that
different
again.
than
Do
the
that again.
Magadib.
Do that again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
They got nice flow. They're really kind of fine. Let me tell you, G, because they're right on the line. Spit real quick. Got nice smooth. This is how they go, because they got the Crush Groove.
Nice. Classic D Wood and
Was
Issa.
that good? Was that good?
That was old school right there. That was Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh right there, man. Classic. All right. Let me back this up. All right, here we go. Back to Avery and Christina.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to God Logic Apologetics. I'm here with Lady Logic herself, man. She had an opportunity to hop on a panel with 3 other amazing Christian sisters, Ty, Chanasa, and Kalia. And they went to work. They sat across from 4 other Muslims. They had a conversation. Now, my beautiful wife.
Yes.
This was your first time getting out there in the public. Tell us how that felt, man.
What is she doing? Showing her face? She should be completely covered and her head should be covered up and she should only be communicating through a whiteboard.
I was really nervous and I don't know why. Because once the conversation got flowing, I was like, oh, this is just a talk. We're just talking. But, being Lady Logic, being God Logic's wife is, it's tough. I mean, it's a wonderful thing, but there is that pressure of, hey, I got to do well. I've got to represent. I can't get cooked out here.
Yeah. You better
So-
not have got cooked.
I had to make sure that I knew my stuff, that I was ready, and I wanted to come across as loving, but also firm. And so,
Hey, everyone who's watching right now, you just heard her say loving but firm. And I know how you guys think because you're all a bunch of sick, weird perverts. And I had to ask this question one day because I didn't understand what something meant with the furries. And then it turns out like half the people in the chat know all about furry culture and stuff like that. So you guys are a bunch of weirdos. So I know when you just heard loving but firm, you were like, oh, like a zoot. Stop that. This is a serious show. We don't need your zoot jokes about everything. All right. Back to this discussion.
I'm really hoping that's what I did.
Yeah, you did a good job. You and the other ladies, y'all did a good job of having that balance of, grace and love. And
I have to say, it was different. It was different. It was good that like even they're disagreeing, they were like very respectful and listening to each other and stuff, going back and forth, and not like shouting down and stuff. But maybe that's why there needs to be more of these discussions and debates between women to show guys that they don't need to be jerks all the time.
firmness, like you guys were unapologetic about the gospel, about the truth, about you guys not serving the same God as the Muslims. Like the God of the Bible is a different God than what is described in the Quran. You guys were very clear on that, didn't leave no questions about that. So
absolutely. When I got there to the studio and we saw that it was Chanasa and Kalia from the previous episode,
oh yeah,
I was like, wow,
Let's
these
go.
are some beasts. Like they were my favorite from the previous video.
By the way, that was I didn't know that, but that's actually interesting. So she's saying she didn't know who her other partners were going to be until she got to the studio. So they didn't even know, right? Not only like who you're going to be debating, she didn't know who her partners were. And she was like, oh, I know these ladies. I saw them from a previous episode. So in other words, this wasn't, and I'm assuming it was the same from the Muslim side, but This wasn't Christian women saying, "Hey, let's put together our squad," and Muslim women saying, "Let's put together our 4-person squad and let's go up and battle." It was kind of like, "Hey, let's get a little who's willing to come in here and debate," and then they get 4 people, and there's like, "Okay, let's bring them all together." But anyway, so that's actually interesting. So it wasn't like it wasn't a coordinated team. Yeah.
Yeah, they were thrown in, and they basically had to learn how to work together. But I think that they were, and you notice because during the debate, some of them don't even agree on certain kind of theological points, but they are still able to like work together through whatever the issues are. You know, like, are we born with original sin? I think that was one of the questions, and they had
they're gonna play a clip of that. Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yep.
Absolutely love them. And when we got on that stage together, it was like we'd known each other for years. We just flowed. We were having each other's back, playing off of each other. It was just completely natural, and they made me feel so at ease. And of course, my girl Ty, who I already know and love dearly. It was just, we're quite the squad. I really enjoyed being with them.
That panel was stacked, man. That panel was stacked. And we're going to see what the comment section thought about such a panel when we get into this, because that is awesome. Now, so one of the prompts was about hell and whether or not
those ladies, that was a good team. Like if I were just sitting back and I said, okay, who's gonna be the team? It'd be like, okay, DOC, Hatun, Mary Harp, Christina here. That'd be an awesome 4-person team and stuff. So I wasn't familiar with the other ladies, but yep, they had a good little squad there.
You can go to heaven if you are a disbeliever in said religion. And so let's take a look and see how this went here.
In Sahih Muslim 2662, Aisha is at the funeral of a young boy, and it says that he's too young to have committed sin. So she's like telling Muhammad, surely he's in paradise because he's too young to have committed a sin. And Muhammad says, peradventure, it may be otherwise. So I'm just curious, in light of this idea that, you know, children are not guilty of sin, why would it be otherwise that he would be in paradise?
So the hadith that's mentioned in the Sahih, you said Sahih?
Sahih Muslim.
2662. Hadith is the Prophet's narrations. And
first of all, off the dome.
You think like they don't know this stuff? I'm sorry, this is something that really irks me when I see like a Muslim.
Hey everyone, don't be irking Issa here. All right, go ahead.
It's so condescending. You come in and you think that your interlocutor doesn't know this like basic stuff. She quoted the hadith. She clearly knows what hadith are, and she knows the number. She understands what this thing is, and you're like, I'm going to explain what Sahih hadith is. I'm like, it's insulting.
Yeah, she's quoting it to you. She obviously is familiar.
It's so condescending, and I hear that too. They're like, you don't know the Arabic. And I'm like, dude, here's one thing I want to educate the audience here too. A lot of this Arabic, most modern people don't know this Arabic. It's called Fusha. It's like this archaic Arabic. It's like Latin and Greek. Like I studied Koine Greek in college, like ancient Greek. And my tutor that I was studying with, he's like, dude, you're in the same space of my students because they don't know ancient Greek either. This is an ancient language that people don't speak anymore. People don't speak Fusha. They speak colloquial languages. So I'm like, even if you do speak Arabic, that doesn't mean you understand what this text is. Also, it's in a poetic genre. So it's like there's so many separations of accessing this text because it's an archaic language. So it's wild when I hear people are like, I'm going to try to school you on this situation. No, you also have limitations to the text as well. So it's like, I don't know, it's super weird. And then this is one other pet peeve of mine. I'm so sorry to bring this up, but like people are like, Sahih Hadith, you know, is it Sahih? And I'm like, this is like really low. This is what you call low tier. Because I heard people call people low tier debaters. This is low tier argumentation. They're like, well, the Hadith is Sahih. And I'm like, let me explain to you what. So if you're a scholar, this science does not work for you at all, right? Like we know Dr. Joshua Little. It's not something that holds outside of this space, right?
Yasser Qadi said that.
It just doesn't work. And I actually studied with a colleague of Yasser Qadi because I'm later when we talk about the Islamic dilemma, I'm writing a paper on it. I'm hoping to write a master's thesis on the Islamic dilemma. This is like,
do it.
I already have a paper
because I already know ahead of time your treatment of the issue will be completely different and better than what we get from the Dawah guys.
I'll send you my paper too. I already did one of my capstones of the papers, and I'm going to build off of that. But I can send you the paper that I've already worked on, this Islamic dilemma, and I got a good grade on it. So if you want to see it, this is like the beginning. It's like 10 pages long. But I'm working on this because I think it's a really important conversation. But the idea about hadith is like people are like, well, it's sahih, that means it's true. And I'm like, yeah, no, you're confused. So the idea is that like there's a bunch of chains that say this narrative is true. The issue is the thing could say something really vile and horrible, but your thing is you're like, well, there's this vile, horrible thing, but you know, there's not a bunch of multiple chains that are linked to it, so thus it's not true. That's not even how hadith work. So even if something is da'if, that doesn't mean the hadith is false. It just means that we don't know the pedigree of lineage of the hadith. This is where, and the people keep saying sahih, 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 and I'm like, it doesn't matter. You don't know if it's true or not. And unfortunately, like it's chaos because you have a lot of people who can fabricate these chains too. It's not hard to do it. I can get a bunch of names and claim that these people say it. This is where they get the thing called mutawatir, where they're like there are multiple chains. But I think people could fabricate that too. It's not impossible to do that. You know what I mean? So it's like people are like, this is like, lock, stock, and barrel, and I'm like, you're not an academic, and that's why you're making these claims. You don't understand that this is not as impressive as you think it is outside of your space.
That's why it was interesting in Joshua Little when he's discussing hadiths. For anyone who doesn't know, Joshua Little, he wrote his entire doctoral dissertation at Oxford responding to the issue of Muhammad and Aisha. He said he wanted to take that away from Islamophobes who use Muhammad's relationship with Aisha to criticize Muhammad. So he wanted to take that away and show that we don't know that Muhammad had sex with a 9-year-old girl. And so you'll actually have Muslims who point to that, it can't be defended. But what he actually does in his dissertation, he shows that hadith methodology really can't stand up to scrutiny, which is basically what Sheikh Yasser Qadi said more recently. But it was interesting because reading how non-Muslim scholars understand hadith methodology and how they react to hadith methodology is basically the exact opposite of how like Salafi or just Sunni, Orthodox Sunni Muslim scholars treat the system. It's almost the complete reversal. So an Orthodox Sunni Muslim hadith scholar, he looks at it, and so he's looking at the story, he's making up the story, he's making sure the story lines up with Orthodox Islam, and then he's making sure this list of names that everyone on there is as good as gold. And so we got this on here, so we know the story lines up with Orthodox Islam, and we've got this list of names, and we know all these names, and all these guys are as good as gold, right? So that's how we know it's a good hadith. The non-Muslim academics who are hadith scholars, you have a handful of them, but the non-Muslims, they do the complete reversal because they understand that this is a methodology that came about later, right? This methodology was a later invention. So when they see a story that lines up with Orthodox Islam, which was in a process of developing over time, they look at it and they say, oh, the story lines up perfectly with Orthodox Islam. They go, okay, that's a bit suspicious. When they see a story that doesn't line up perfectly with Orthodox Islam, they think that has a higher chance of being accurate because there would have been less of an inclination to make it up, right? In other words, once you have fully fleshed out Orthodox Islam, then you can make up stories and they're going to line up with Orthodox Islam. If you have a story that doesn't line up with Orthodox Islam, they say, okay, you're obviously not inventing that after the rise of Orthodox Islam and everything was made official. So it's likely that it's earlier, before Islam was nice and solid and all the details were sort of listed for you. And that similarly with the list of names, with the isnad, the list of names, I got it from so-and-so, got it from so-and-so, got it from so-and-so. They look at a list of names, and when you have this perfect isnad of all these completely reliable guys going back to a companion of Muhammad, they look at that and they say, that is obviously made up. Why? Because the method wasn't invented when all this stuff was going on. And so when would you make up a list of names? You do that after the methodology said this is the only acceptable thing. So they look at like broken chains or chains that don't go back to a companion of Muhammad as more reliable, because they say, okay, this is before the system was made up. This is before you guys made up these rules. And so it's actually more reliable if you have a broken chain, because if you were coming up with your story after the methodology was invented, you would have made up a perfect chain. And so the fact that you have a broken chain shows that it probably goes back before the method was finalized, and it's actually earlier material. So they do the exact opposite. But
you said something really important in your debate with Robert Spencer, and it was a really good debate. I'm sorry I only could stay for the beginning because I had to go back to work. I got called in to go to work because I was on call. But you said something, it was really interesting because both of you had it was probably one of my favorite debate. It was super interesting, and you actually talked about Islam, so it's actually something that was of interest to me. Yeah, of course it wasn't, flavored in like the best light, but I think it's interesting because you actually brought up Islamic points. You went through the information, and like as an academic, I'm like, ooh, I love this stuff. It was very different than the AP informed Gnostic debate. I was like, it was a very different. I really liked your debate with Robert Spencer. I was like, this is really interesting, and you're actually talking about Islam. And you had a very interesting point where you're like, and it's a very good scholarly point, like the evidence of like a hostile witness of like, this is the thing that makes your narrative look bad, right? I forget what the exact principle is, but you brought it up.
Principle of embarrassment.
A principle of embarrassment, right? So the idea that this thing looks really bad, so why would you share it? And that creates a point of evidence. And I actually saw Raymond Ibrahim versus Jay Smith.
Mm-hmm.
And it was interesting because I think Raymond Ibrahim won that debate in the sense that he brought up one point where he was like, yeah, this is a polemic that you're bringing up, but the thing is, if you use this type of line of argumentation, it can be used against you. So if you're going to say, hey, these things are unhistorical, well, history is it's murky at best. People didn't have Facebook and MySpace, and, they didn't have this like internet carbon footprint where you could find it. They didn't have these types of things where you could just look people up, or the
they didn't have America Online, everyone.
No, they didn't. They didn't have America with those CDs. You remember the CDs where you get 5 minutes of it?
They didn't even have CDs.
They didn't have CDs or floppy disks, or 8-track tapes, So like, I felt that that's an important point. History is murky. All history is. Like, we can't. What we do is we figure out what's the most plausible. So what's the most believable? That's the best thing that we can do. We can't really do what we do now, where we have a huge footprint of stuff. So like, people have to understand that about history that they don't quite understand. But you did a great job. Yeah.
Yeah, what you were just saying there, that's called inference to the best explanation, right? You have
inference to the best explanation.
Here's all the information we have to go on. What's the best explanation for this evidence? And how like conspiracy theorists will do it. They'll like say, okay, here's the position, but look, here's a problem with the position, and this little thing doesn't make sense. Therefore, insane conspiracy theory. And it's like, wait a minute. The insane conspiracy theory, you're pointing out a problem and saying, therefore, the explanation doesn't make sense. Therefore, go with this. And almost always the insane conspiracy theory is significantly has serious problems with it. And it's usually not the best explanation. But so.
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I resonated with that type of point. I'm like, that is interesting argumentation. And I'm like, if we're looking through an academic scholarly approach, people don't like Yasser Qadhi, but I'm sorry. If you want to attack Christianity and Judaism using academic means, but you're not willing to use the same type of narrative against your own tradition, because you're terrified of that. Like, I see all the people, they're like, I'm going to say the Exodus never happened. It wasn't real. It's not true. And I'm like, you kind of need to believe that it's real, dude, because you believe in the Hebrew prophets. whether you want to call them Muslims or not, which I think is silly and ridiculous, but you believe in the Israelite Hebrew prophets. It's a part of the tradition. You believe in these scriptures, which is ridiculous that you're trying to throw them under the bus because you're shooting yourself in the foot. It's like a self-inflicted wound. You're not hurting your opponent, you're hurting yourself. But these people are like, I think that the Israelites, they didn't do these things. It's all fake. It's all bad. And I'm like, yeah, this stuff can be used against you. Like every single attack you're making will be used against you, and you don't want to use the same intellectual academic method against your own tradition. Like, for example, people are like, Arabic has always existed. We know when Arabic was created. We can see it. We have a timeline. We know what Proto-Arabic is. So it's ridiculous if you're going to like Arabic as this timeless language. Hebrew's not a timeless language either. We can find when these languages were developed because we have archaeology, we have history. If you're an academic, you know these things, but like people are like, Arabic has always existed. I'm like, yeah, because you don't know anything about this. You're talking about something you don't understand. You don't know linguistics. You don't know etymology. You don't know about how languages develop and change throughout time and how words are borrowed and stuff. You don't know anything about this, and then you come in and you're very arrogant, and then you say things that are ridiculous. But you'll attack Christianity and make fun of it for saying it's not, the academic. You use academic tools against them, but you won't use the academic tools against your own tradition. So, yeah, it's insulting.
Yeah, that has been an ongoing issue for years. So you've had lots of there've been lots of debaters, and it's when we're examining Christianity, we'll go to Bart Ehrman and like critical scholars and stuff like that, and then when we're examining Muslim sources, we'll go to our sheikh, and it's like, well, why aren't you going to the critical scholars? I thought that's the methodology, right? I just wanted to get down to Christian Gadfly here real quick. Can you make a Checkmate Jihadi shirt in women's size? I think it's unisex thing. I don't know if women have just completely different sizes, but it's unisex, but they have all different sizes. So I get treatment for mind, including racing thoughts. Well, I assume you're talking about me, saying that I have all these stupid thoughts popping into my head. Yeah. Hey, maybe I need treatment. I think you're saying I need treatment. Okay, here we have Christian Gadfly. There's so many good rap songs titled Let's Go. I'm thinking Bust Rhymes with Travis Backrer and Trick Daddies. You don't know anything, man. Just making up these names. Hey, Christian Gadfly. You're on, man. You're on. You're the lawyer. You're a lawyer. So the person who had Giant DOC's live stream taken down, do your thing, man. Do all your fancy lawyerings and crush them and make sure it never happens again. All right, back to God Logic and Lady Logic.
Having that hadith ready, not just the contents of the hadith, but Sahih Muslim 2662. Okay, that's the one. That was you're dangerous.
I try to not bring it if I don't remember where it's at because of answers like what I'm going to get from this lady.
Yeah, let's see.
So the word hadith means we have to make sure before we discuss that how solid is this hadith, because a lot of hadith were input in a lot of big books. So we have to investigate and see if it is the right hadith, and it will have an explanation to support what comes in the Quran. So
it's a weird situation because she's partly correct, but I don't believe her. And what I mean here is, you do have people who understand there's some serious problems with hadith methodology. And so, okay, you're quoting hadith. I don't need to take your hadith seriously. I think the hadith have serious problems. But that's usually not the position. It's usually, oh, you quoted a hadith that I don't like, so let me pretend I'm skeptical about hadiths and so on. I'm going to say, well, even though it's sahih, that doesn't mean it's actually, even though it means authentic, I'm not going to take it as authentic because, anyway. The point here is you actually have serious Quran-only Muslims. You have serious Quran-only Muslims who don't go to the hadith. They have a serious position. But most people, when they start saying, oh, don't quote that hadith to me, you can usually find it out in discussion. You'll find out they do believe in the hadith. They just don't want to actually have to defend what was said. And so they'll say, oh, well, we don't have to trust these hadiths and so on. So if she's a serious, like Quran-only Muslim or something like that, I could take her seriously. But I would guess, without knowing much about her, just because it's more common, it's far more common for people to say, "Oh yeah, we don't trust all hadith." Yeah, that might not. Where's it from? Oh yeah, Sahih Muslim. Oh yeah, we don't have to trust Sahih Muslim. It's much more common for people who do believe in hadith and they just want to dismiss it because they don't want to deal with the content. So, but anyway, if we were to find out this woman is a serious Quran only Muslim, I would. You can grant. You can say, "Oh, okay. If you think hadith are unreliable, fine. Let's toss the hadith out. We'll talk about the Quran." Let's see.
Prophetic hadith.
What's up?
Oh, I wanted to say one thing about that that's interesting, because you're right, because there is this, I call it a grift, where it's like, you're like, well, I don't like these hadith because they don't fit with my ideology. So I'm just going to say, oh, it's not sahih, or, and they'll claim it's not sahih, but they don't even know if it's sahih or not. And they're like, I reject this hadith because it doesn't work with my theology, but I'll take this other hadith because it represents my ideology. And then you'll attack people, and then I saw in this debate where they'll attack Christianity and they're like, look at the Crusades, look how horrible the Crusades were. And I'm like, yeah, you think Islamic imperialism and colonialism is good too? If you want to attack European colonialism, then you need to be accountable about your own in colonialism. You can't just say that these people are bad when you're doing bad too. You know what I mean? The Muslim imperialists were not just sweethearts. They did take over land. They did subjugate people, and that's just the facts, But that was the age of empires. Everybody did that stuff. But you can't say, oh, my imperialism and colonialism is good and your imperialism and colonialism is bad. It's wrong and it's dishonest. So, yeah, I'm not with that.
One second. Looks like AP. Hey, look. AP says, I'm in Israel to bring peace.
Baruch Hashem.
Hope you do a better job than you do on our live streams. All you do is sow chaos and division. Don't be doing that over there, man. Right.
The original ones, they support what comes in the Quran. It can't be contradictory.
Right, so this one is considered to be sahih, which means authentic, right?
No, it depends. We can't.
No, it depends. That's exactly what it means. It means authentic, sound, or reliable.
Assume that. But like I said, if there's a clear verse in the Quran that human beings are born without sin, the hadith that are supportive of that, they are the right hadith.
Logic,
otherwise,
correct me
it
if
can't be
I'm wrong.
contradictory.
The word sahih,
Yeah.
it means authentic.
Well, it depends on how you feel in that moment.
Oh, how you feel in the moment.
Yes, it depends on how you feel. If you're talking about like literally, if you're just reading it and just knowing just the word itself, yes, sahih means authentic. It's good, better than good. It's authentic. It's sound. So you can't really question sound hadith, especially if you're a Sunni Muslim like the sister is here. Yeah. So, but that's your fault for assuming.
Okay, so yeah, Avery said she's a Sunni Muslim, so yeah, she shouldn't be tossing aside hadith and Sahih Muslim.
Sahih Muslim was authentic. And it was also my fault for assuming that if we brought it up, we could actually talk about it versus disputing over whether or not it's...
well, you're not a scholar.
Right. So why would I be able to discuss something I read?
Exactly.
I have to say what the woman did there, that's what I've seen Kabeer Ali do. And I don't want to say it's deceptive because they do have a basis for this, but notice what she did. She said, oh, we've got what the Quran says. Now, I don't think it's what the Quran says, but she's saying we've got what the Quran says. And therefore, if a hadith contradicts the Quran, we can dismiss it on that basis. She's actually correct. If you have a hadith that contradicts the Quran, you are able to sort of toss that aside. But what I just saw from her and what I've seen from Kabeer Ali is, here's the Quran and here's how I'm interpreting the Quran. And then I'm going to use my interpretation and I'm going to say that hadith conflicts with my interpretation of the Quran. And therefore I can throw out that hadith based on my interpretation. Instead of what most like Orthodox Sunni Muslims would do, if you've got an interpretation of the Quran and you have a Sahih hadith that conflicts with your interpretation, you say, okay, I need a different interpretation. I need an interpretation of the Quran that lines up with what Muhammad said in the hadith. So again, I don't want to call it deceptive, because you don't have to be deceptive and do that. You can say, I think this is the correct interpretation of the Quran. And if this hadith comes along 2 centuries later, okay, I know it may meet the requirements of a sahih hadith, but I think this is what the Quran is saying, and therefore I'm not going to take that. I'm not going to take that hadith seriously. So you can do that. You can do that, but that just wouldn't be like Orthodox Sunni Islam. All right.
That children aren't guilty of sin. My question is, like, we're like Aisha, right? We're like, why, this kid is too young to have committed sin. So I don't think that Quran verse you're mentioning contradicts that idea. But more so, my question is, if children are innocent, then why would the possibility of the child not being in paradise be a thing?
Like I said again, the hadith does not, if it does not align with the Quran, then we have to assume that it's not a concrete, solid hadith. There were a lot of hadith input in even big books, famous books.
So, I mean, the hadith collection is full of big books, huge books, guys. And you got to really search through them and really seek scholarship and making sure it's sound. She didn't touch the contents of that hadith. As a matter of fact, actually, she kind of alluded it to being contradictory to what the Quran teaches.
Right. And so tell me this, watching that, was my question clear?
Your question was very clear.
Okay, because this is what I was trying to express. Your idea that children are innocent, I completely agree with. Why are innocent children going to hell?
Exactly.
So I'm not talking about whether or not they're innocent. I'm talking about whether or not they get punished. And she brings up a Quran verse where children are innocent. Well, that's not what...
She didn't even bring up a Quran verse.
She sure didn't.
She didn't bring up a Quran
You're
verse.
right.
She made a claim.
She made a claim.
And said that this seems to contradict. If it contradicts the Quran, then we can't accept it. It's false. It's a fake hadith or whatever. It's fabricated. She didn't bring a verse. She didn't quote a single. I would have loved to have been like, okay, let's hear a verse, but not a single verse was brought. Your question was very clear. You brought a reference. You quoted the reference word for word, and
from the mouth of Aisha herself.
Look, we're the Aisha crew, right? Aisha,
we're confused.
You made a good point. We're like Aisha. We think that the child who dies, especially before puberty, before they can even commit sin, that they're going to go straight to paradise, no question. But Muhammad says, hold on a second, hold your horses. It may be otherwise, because Allah created for hell those who are to go to hell and before they were in their father's loins, and vice versa for paradise. Why is that a possibility for an innocent child who couldn't have committed sin if, according to your religion, kids are all innocent? Straight to paradise, So.
There were a couple of places I wanted to potentially go here in this topic, but I learned quickly, because this was the first prompt, I learned quickly that you kind of get a few minutes to talk about it and then you have to move on. But I definitely wanted to try to go to predestination in Islam. I wanted to go to other hadith that mention children going to hell. So there was a lot I wanted to be able to go to, but you moved really quick on this show.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, they do. They basically dedicate a few minutes to a series of various topics, and so you can't go into as much detail as you want to in the discussion. And this came up again when they were discussing the Islamic dilemma.
But that was a good little exchange there. So we got other little parts that stood out to me that I want us to touch on. I want to get your inner monologue when we talk about this. Now, this is like touching on the subject of whether or not you can be a believer and go to hell, or a disbeliever and go to heaven in Islam. And this is how this sister responded.
If we don't follow your particular religion or faith, that we would go to hell.
So from my upbringing and my understanding of the Quran, no. There's a verse in chapter 2, verse 62 that says, Christians, Jews, believers, anyone who believes in God, believes in the day of judgment, and does good on earth, has no fear, and God will reward them in the hereafter.
So, according to this Muslimah, if you are a disbeliever, it doesn't matter, it's okay. You will still go to paradise. As a matter of fact, she doubled down on this a little bit later. And here's your response
262. It's talking about converts. I think it's very
385.
clear because,
385.
like we spoke of earlier, you have to believe in Allah on the last day. And how do you reconcile that with verses like 385, where it says, "Those who seek another religion other than Islam will not be accepted, and there will be losers in the hereafter." Or 98.
Issa, did you catch that? She laughed when she said losers because she thought it was funny to say losers. Because we use it, you know, we say it like loser, but you'll have it in Quran translation that translated as losers and stuff. But listen to her laugh; it's actually funny.
And how do you reconcile that with verses like 385, where it says, "Those who seek another religion other than Islam
Will never be accepted.
will not be accepted, and there will be losers in the hereafter." Or 98.
She laughed when she said losers.
What was that? Why you chuckle when you said there will be losers?
They're gonna be losers in the hereafter. I don't know. Something about that verse. You're gonna be a loser. That just really cracked me up. But I am so glad, because if you go back and you watch this full thing, the conversation got diverted when she first brought it up, and I was like, I want to talk about this. And being able to bring it back up made me so happy, because I wanted to challenge that. And that's the thing. All of these ladies were absolutely lovely. They were sweethearts. I mean, after this, we all hugged. But there were several moments where I just feel like either intentionally or unintentionally, there was dishonesty. Yeah.
Straight up lying. I'll say it.
Yeah, baby.
There's moments where some of them are just probably just straight up lying. But hey, you know, or maybe they genuinely think this and they're lost. And
I think if I'm being charitable, I do think that she genuinely believes this. But again, she never answers my question. How do you reconcile your belief based on that one verse with this verse?
But let's see how this engagement goes.
Those who seek another religion other than Islam will not be accepted, and there will be losers in the hereafter. Or
there are
98.
repeated verses where God says, like, we will call them according to their books. As long as you believe in God, you believe in the day of judgment, and you do good, you have to be a good person, which is kind of going back to what we were saying earlier about why we strive and why we do our practices to support our conviction of the hereafter. We're driven by the good deeds because that is a tenet of our faith.
So, Dania, do you believe Christians will go to heaven?
I do.
Right there. So even the Muslim sister next to her had to be like, you know, okay, so do you believe that Christians will go to heaven? She says, I do. And she just, okay, you know, she doesn't correct her, even though I knew that she didn't agree with that. She doesn't agree with that.
She absolutely didn't agree with her. And here's the thing. That's what makes having these conversations like this a little bit difficult, because you will have Muslims who will say something ecumenical or something palatable to make Islam appealing.
Yeah.
And then when you open the book and it says the exact opposite thing of what you just said, I'm asking you, how do you have this opinion when Allah says otherwise?
Yep. They don't like Allah's words, man. And this is typical. They do not like what Allah says.
That's why if I come across like I'm trying to press them, it's only when I feel like they're being dishonest.
That's all. I mean, what are you going to do? Just sit there and just let the lie go? No.
Even earlier when we were talking about the hadith, had she not said, oh, it's not authentic, even though it's Sahih Muslim, if she had said, you know what, yeah, it's Allah's decision to send children to hell if he wants to, and he's God, and that's his right. You know what I would have said? Halas.
Halas.
Sure. Okay. I can respect that because you are honoring what your book says, and you're saying he's God, and if that's what he wants to do, that's what it is. Can't fault you.
So there was another segment where you guys were talking about the deity of Christ, the claims that Jesus makes, and I really love this part because you got them to say something and admit something that
Hey, hold up. One second. Where'd that go? Christian Gadfly said, is there a public email for Giant DOC? They haven't contacted you? Hey, Gadfly, they haven't contacted you? If they haven't, send me an email and I'll send you their contact info.
I just knew
or a text. You've got my number. You can text me.
Muslims would hate. I as a me putting myself in a Muslim shoes watching this, I probably would have turned this off like after listening to this. So they try to.
Hey, Christian Gadfly, Giant DOC said they messaged you on X. Why are you asking for the contact info? What's wrong with... Oh. Okay. He said they did on X, but he's locked out of his account. Oh, I wonder if he has one of those things where he sets up like times he's allowed to go onto a system or something like that. Hey, Giant DOC, send me whatever you... send me... on X, whatever you want to send to Christian Gadfly, and I'll send it to him in a text real quick.
You know, we'll just let y'all look at it.
Yeah,
and let's watch this part here. So
Jesus says that I do not do anything by myself. I do it by the will of God. So that particular statement, that's actually exactly what a Muslim says. I don't do anything by my own will. I submit to the will of God. That is the definition of a
It's also
a
a verse in the Quran about what Jesus said. I can't do any of this without the will of God.
Except
Those
no
two match,
Muslim
exactly match.
No Muslim would say that everything that God does, they can do. That they do everything they see the Father doing. So when you finish that verse right there, Jesus is making a divine claim. He says, I do nothing without the Father. Everything the Father does, I do, for the Father shows me all that he does. So is that Islamic to believe that a creature can do everything that the Father can do?
From a mystical point of view, yes.
Girl.
What?
From a mystical point of view. Did everyone catch that? Let me point this out because you have... just point out what just happened. So Jesus said he can do nothing by himself. You see, this is him saying that he's just a regular person and he can't do anything apart from God. And Lady Logic actually finished the verse. This is important. It should be a rule for Dawah. If you're using a verse, you should always make them finish at least the verse, if not the entire context. But so this is how it will appear in the Dawah script. Jesus gave them this answer. Very truly, I tell you, the Son can do nothing by himself. You see, the Son can do nothing by himself. It already says Son here, so it's already contradicting the Sunni Islam, the Sunni Islamic view of Jesus. But look, it says the Son can do nothing by himself. If the Son can do nothing by himself, then obviously he's not God. Well, look what it says. Verily, very truly, I tell you, the Son can do nothing by himself. And then Christina finished the verse. He can only do what he sees his Father doing, because whatever the Father does, the Son also does. Whatever the Father does, the Son also does. In other words, I don't do anything different from what the Father does. That's his point there. And
So I
just want to point. Christina's pointing out, like, what normal human? If your evidence for him being a normal human being, even a great prophet, is that he said he can do nothing by himself. What do you do with the rest of the verse? Whatever the Father does, the Son also does. One, he's talking Father and Son, but whatever the Father does, the Son does. What mere prophet is going to say, whatever God does, I do it all too? That's a pretty extreme claim. She brings it up to the lady. She said, so how is Jesus doing everything God does? And the lady apparently said, oh, yeah, but in a mystical way. That's interesting stuff. What are you saying, Issa?
I wanted to actually bring up her because she looks like she's a South Asian Muslim. That is a Sufi South Asian Muslim. And it's funny because I have a lot of friends who are ex-Muslim South Asians, like Adam Seeker and Emmanuel Shahid. Emmanuel Shahid was actually in the chat. So I know a little bit about South Asian Muslim culture. I was thinking about actually writing like a small book on it because it's really interesting, like the space of because it's interesting. Our good friend Mohammed Ijab brought it up too, where he's like, the South Asian Muslims don't seem to do this. And I'm like, yeah, because South Asian culture is not for this. They're not for polygamy. So yeah, they're not going to be doing it. It doesn't matter if you're Hindu, Christian, Muslim, Jewish. You're not doing polygamy, But she brings up Mansur al-Hallaj. You're familiar with the narrative of Mansur al-Hallaj, right?
Not right now. What?
Sorry, Mansur al-Hallaj was.
Hang on. You explain stuff. I'm sending a message to Christian Gadfly real quick.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
There we go. No, you're good. You're good.
Cool. Mansur al-Hallaj was this kind of he's considered like a Sufi saint. And basically what happens with him is he says, An al-Haq. He says, I am the truth. Which, for your standard Muslim, this is like a heretical thing. This is like a blasphemous thing. Because he's saying he's God, right? That's the idea. He's saying he's Haq. He's truth. And so basically, the community executes him, right?
Oh, yeah. No, that guy. Yeah. You can say I speak the truth or something like that. Yeah. That's the guy.
He said, I am the truth. Like, I am the truth. I am the way and the life. Like what you see in John 3:16.
Yeah. I wanted to actually use that as a point for Lily J posted a video recently where she was saying, I believe Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life. That's exactly what Islam teaches. Like, they killed a dude for saying that he's the truth. Because it was understood you can claim to, again, speak the truth or something like you can't claim to be the truth. And so, yeah, interesting.
And so basically what happens is she brings up this argument and I'm like, oh my gosh, you shot yourself in the foot. You're like, yes, we have this spiritual mystical thing. And I'm like, this actually hurts you because what happens is Muslims are executing other Muslims. We have to own this. We have to be honest about it. That's what Daesh did. This is what Al-Qaeda did. This is what Boko Haram does. This is what Hamas does. All of these organizations, what do? They kill other Muslims. That's what they do, and it's like, we've got to be honest about it. And because they say, well, you're not the real Muslim. Whether they think they're the real, who's the real and who's not the real Muslim, it's really, I don't know how these people have the power to know who's a real believer or not. I think it's ridiculous. I would stay away from that space completely. But the idea is they killed Mansur al-Hallaj for saying this. So you're like, well, the Crusades, they're so horrible, they're so bad. And I'm like, what you just said is that the Muslim community executed another Muslim who didn't hurt anybody. You could make an argument, just say he's crazy, right? You could say he's a Majnun. They decided to call him a heretic. They decided to execute him. That's a problem for you, babe. Like, this is not a good thing. This is not a good argument in your favor. And I don't think she really realized how detrimental this hurts her. You're trying to critique, Christians for what they're doing, but you're not holding yourself accountable and saying, what is the problem? She's like, the king did this. And I'm like, that's a bad thing for you. That's not a good thing.
Hey, yo, Christian Gadfly, I did send you Jai's email address. I texted it to you, so should be everything you need to contact him, and he can fill you in on all the details. All right, I think we're all good on that issue.
What? Such a straightforward, surgical question. Simple, and this is what these type of things do. For the Muslim, it's either you're put in a predicament. Either I be honest and say, no prophet.
All right, 1 second. For some reason, it said my message failed to send. I don't know what's going on here. My texting will randomly do that and just say failed to send. I do not know how that works. I'll just keep resending it 1,000 times until it goes through. What about that? Yo. All right, there we go. I just sent it like 10 times. Hold up. I might have to grab my phone. For some reason, I don't know how technology works, but if a message isn't going through when I send it from my laptop, usually if I just click on my phone, then all of a sudden it'll go through.
Can say this, and then therefore I have to acknowledge that Jesus is claiming to be God even in the Bible. Or two, I can be dishonest and say something completely radical, say something completely off base, and now I have to defend this crazy position. So now she's not appealing to Islam, really. She's appealing to mysticism now, guys. Wow. What were you thinking in that moment when she said, "Oh yeah, if you go to mysticism, yeah."
I was 100% expecting to get a no to my question. The whole reason for my question was for it to be thought-provoking. Obviously, you cannot say this, so yes, let's acknowledge that Jesus is saying something more than a creature could say, and I thought that was going to be the end of it.
It should have been.
It should have been,
the end
and never
of
in
it.
my wildest dreams did I think I was going to get the answer that I did get, which is what makes conversations like this so much fun. But I think she did Islam a disservice here. If that's not the Orthodox belief, why are you bringing this up?
Why are you appealing to this, man?
Would you say that? Do you believe
Wait,
that?
let's see how you handle this. You know,
Okay.
like, we got to check your reaction here. Pretty good.
But no
His
matter
point of
how
view is
much we
completely
love
right.
God, wouldn't we want to be careful with what we say? Because there is a distinction between us and God. We're created, He's not. I just think that goes kind of against, I don't know if any of you ladies would say that the way that he said that, even though you love God, right?
Yeah, would you say I am Allah in the same way that
No,
Jesus
he
said?
was
Kalia
on a
with the
different path.
assist.
He's just
Hold on, listen.
Yeah, would you say I am Allah in the same way that
no.
Jesus says
He
I
was
am
on a
He?
different path. He's just
He was on a different path, so why bring him up? Why bring this heretical?
Hey, Issa, go ahead and share any commentary you want. I have to grab something real quick.
Sure, okay.
Be right back. So now is your chance to spread all sorts of weird, goofy, Sufi stuff.
Oh, shucks. So goofy soofly. So the thing is, it's not another path. That's not what she means. What it is, there's a word in Hebrew and in Arabic. The word in Hebrew is called madrega. The word is madrega, and the word in Arabic is maqam. So the thing is, people have different spiritual stations. So one can argue that she had, that he had a different spiritual station, and that allowed him a certain kind of access to kind of spiritual experience. It's not just a different path. People are at different kinds of levels, and this is a kind of element of spiritual mysticism. So that's kind of the really important part of looking at Mansur Halaj. But you see this a lot of characters like Nasruddin, Hoja Nasruddin, where they have kind of spiritual experiences and understandings that are very different than your common masses. Ahmed Hilmi, he was from Turkey. He had a book called Awakened Dreams. It's very interesting stuff. And it's very similar to what you would see in like the New Testament, where you have the Christ figure who is so different than the kind of the Pharisaic Jews or the Sadducee Jews who are around. There's a different kind of there's a kind of very different kind of perspective of how these folks are, engaging, where you have someone who's in a very kind of high spiritual station versus folks who are not at that place. So they don't really understand and they don't really get it. And it's very, the New Testament's really powerful in that, where you can kind of see these experiences. It's very similar to these kind of other narratives where the masses are like, well, you're doing heresy, you're wrong, and I'm like, if this person is in this space of being connected to the divine, these regular people can't understand that because they're not at that level. They're not at the same level. So I think that's really important in engaging that. So like, I think like a really great case, there's several cases, like if we're going to look at the New Testament, we look at the case of about the money, where the coin has, where basically there's like this trap that's set out from these kind of very corrupt officials, where the figure is like, well, what do you feel about taxes? Should you pay Caesar? And he's like, render unto Caesar what is for Caesar, and render unto God what is for God. And the idea of the case of adultery, where he's kind of scribbling the sand and people are trying to trap him, but I'm like, he's at the higher level than the masses. And that's the kind of idea of what the story is with Mansur Halaj, is he's at this higher spiritual station than any of the people around him. He's actually connected to something that's way beyond whatever these other people are connected to. So, yeah. All right, you're back. Great.
I don't know if what you said was weird Sufi stuff or not, but no, turns out turns out Giant DOC already contacted.
So the one thing that I did was I was comparing the New Testament narrative to like Mansur Halaj, where I'm like, you have Christ as this entity that's way beyond everybody that's around him, and he has this understanding that these other people don't have, right? The common man doesn't get it, right? And it's the same thing with Mansur Halaj. He's this kind of like being, according to the story, that he's way beyond the people that are around him, right? And they just don't get it. They don't understand what he's saying. So that's what I was trying to share.
And here let me see. Here's the response. I said, I don't know what you were saying. And we got from here, he was corrupting our minds, David. Now we know.
Oh.
Now we know. Right,
Sufi Muslim up if he's on a different path and is nothing that you would follow or mimic in regards to your deen and your religion, that this is not the right way to follow. He was on a different path. He wasn't on the straight path. Why are you bringing him up then?
Allah is on the street.
Allah's on the, okay, you know, he might maybe talking about Allah here, man. So good. That was so good.
Yeah.
Hey, I just have to point out, it's interesting because so look at God Logic and Lady Logic here, how they're interacting. He's a debater. Now she's a debater. She jumped up on stage, has a debate with Muslim women and so on. So you have Muslim women debaters. I'm just thinking of like the Dawah guys. The Dawah guys, the only time they put a woman forward is like to get other women recruited to what they want to do to them. It's something very, very creepy about that entire system, guys. Let's go back to this though.
Speaking of, man, you really wasn't holding back. You went straight for it, especially when it came to the Quran being the final revelation in continuation with the other revelation. And I just loved your answer there. Oh
gee, I wonder why.
This is exactly what I'm thinking about, right? Look at God Logic. He's like clearly like proud of his wife. She's always proud of him. He's always proud of her. And you just compare that to like Ali Dawah, and it's like, I want my wife to be some nameless, voiceless thing beside me who occasionally hands me a whiteboard with something scribbled on it. It seems very, very different. I'm hoping people see how dysfunctional the Dawah community is, because it's really, really bad, guys. It's really, really bad. I mean, what you're seeing right here with God Logic and Lady Logic is, if you're a woman, what should you want for your husband? Or if you're a husband, what should you want for your wife? Well, guess what? You're both created in the image of God. You want them to image God and to glorify God. And you want them to maximize their potential in glorifying God. For some people, guess what? Most people, it'll be a disaster if they jump on stage and start debating. Not for Lady Logic. She can actually debate. She can actually jump up on stage and debate. So guess what? That's one way for her to glorify God in what she does. And as a man, wow, this is awesome. This is awesome. My wife, she can glorify God through debating and so on. In the Dawah scene, it doesn't seem to be, hey, I want this woman to be all she can be for God. It's, I want her to be exactly what I want her to be to impress my fellow Dawah clowns. That's what I want. That's all she is in life. She is here to please me. She has no purpose. Look at what hijab did. Marries a woman who wants a family and wants to do Dawah and stuff. And no, you're going to be my hotel hookup. You're a booty call. Basically, he's reducing women to booty calls for him. And that's, keep in mind, this isn't a random dude. You can have random dirtbag Christians. You can have random dirtbag Muslims and so on. This is like, these are the heroes of Dawah. It's not random people. These are the heroes of Dawah. And even after seeing this, they're still the heroes of Dawah, which means the Dawah fans aren't going, oh my goodness, I can't believe you did this. This is unacceptable. We don't listen to you anymore. Doesn't matter what they do. In fact, the worse they are, the more their fans seem to love them for it. It's weird stuff. It needs to go, guys. Dawah needs to go. Creepy, dumb stuff.
I was just cheesing from ear to ear at this part. Just for context here, they're talking about the Quran correcting the Bible, correcting the previous scriptures.
Yes.
And so you give a beautiful response here.
That's an interesting
Look, he was already
answer,
ready.
and I get that answer often when I'm speaking with Muslims about whether or not the Quran confirms or corrects the previous scripture. But when I actually read the Quran, it says the exact opposite of the answers that I get from ladies such as yourself. I mean, 1094, Muhammad, if you are in doubt about what Allah has revealed to you, what did Allah reveal to Muhammad? The Quran. If you're in doubt about what Allah has revealed, go and ask the people who have been reading the scripture before you.
Talk, Lady Logic!
If you doubt the Quran, you're supposed to go and check the previous scripture according to Allah.
Mm-hmm.
You have 381, where Allah is telling the prophets that there's a messenger coming after them that's going to confirm all that Allah has given them of the scripture and of the hikmah.
You like that?
I like that.
And
I
so
like that.
you have over and over again, I mean, there's verse after verse, chapter 2, chapter 5, full of verses about how Muhammad and Muslims are supposed to go back to the previous scripture because the Quran is supposed to come in line with it, confirming what was before, not contradicting it. So then when we see that the Quran contradicts the previous scripture, the answer that I get is that, oh, well, it came to correct it. Nowhere in the Quran or Hadith is the Quran a correction over the previous scripture. In fact, it's the other way around. But let's talk about one example.
That was the Islamic dilemma in a nutshell, ladies and gentlemen. You could, guys, you could clip that for the Islamic dilemma. You could clip what she just said right there and toss that everywhere because that is the Islamic dilemma in a nutshell.
Watch her do.
For example.
Watch her do exactly what I just said.
Yeah, so the opposite of what the Quran says and usually the answers that you get.
Yep.
So Allah says, hey guys, use the previous scriptures to check the Quran and make sure the Quran is correct. She's going to bring up an example where she thinks and is going to make the claim that the Quran is actually correcting the Torah, correcting the Bible. It's tough. She brings up a lot, but let's hear this.
Yeah.
The story of Lot in the Bible. When you read the story of Lot, it says that Lot's daughters got him drunk and then slept with him. This story, when you read the same story in the Quran, it's a completely different story. It doesn't say anything about the daughters getting.
You see what she just said? So the claim is the Quran is affirming the previous scriptures and yet contradicts them. And she says, aha, but the story of Lot is completely different in the Quran. That's not an answer. That's not an answer, ma'am.
It's not a good argument.
You see my
No.
Very bad.
face?
I want to say one thing on this. I've heard this so many times where they're like, and this is something that really bothers me too. Like, and I hear the argument over and over again. I'm like, why are they parroting this? It's a parroting argument. I think you're right. There is some script out there, but the argument is that they say the Quran is correcting the Bible. And I'm like, okay, if the Quran was correcting the Bible, the Quran should not be 114 surahs. It should be like the Talmud and should be like 20 volumes because you would need to go to every single element. You would have to go to, the Pentateuch. You have to go through the 5 books. Then you would have to go into like Judges. You'd have to go into the Psalms. You have to go into Proverbs. You would have to go through all these texts and give corrections on each of that. If you're going to make that argument, you got to go all the way with it. You've got to say that the Quran is, and it doesn't though. The only element that you see in the Quran, I did a textual analysis of the prophet Joseph in Bereshit in Genesis and in the Quran, and that's the closest that you have, and they're very different narratives. Like the narrative in the Quran is very poetic, and it's a very like spiritual narrative. The narrative in Genesis is very like historical. It's like, okay, here are these tribes, here's this well, here are all the names of these brothers. You don't know who, if you read the Quran, you don't know who the brothers of Joseph are. You don't know who any of that information. You know what I mean? You don't know about all the traveling because it doesn't give any of those details. So it's really weird when people are like, it's correcting it. And I'm like, how do you prove that? How do you prove correction? And if you were going to do a correction, like I think of through the academic lens, you'll be like, okay, this is the feedback I'm giving. Okay, this thing is incorrect because of aspect A, aspect B. This part is incorrect. So if you're going to make that argument, you have to prove the case. The case is not proven. You're just making a claim, and you don't even know what a correction is, because a correction requires a lot of work. Like if you think of just like a foundation like in your house, like let's say your bathtub gets broken, right? You have to fix the thing. You have to pull out whatever. Let's say the clog is not working in the bathtub, or in the shower. You have to clean it out, pull it out, put a new one in, and you have to do this whole process. The Quran doesn't do any process like that for the Bible at all. It kind of gives you a Spark Notes perspective of the Bible, right? Like your experience, I'm sure you've seen that when looking at the Quran. It like gives you Spark Notes. It says, okay, here's some highlights. Here are your highlights, of what you see from the Bible. You really have to read the Bible to even know what any of these things mean. You won't really understand it. You're not going to know about the prophet Abraham or Moses or any of these prophets. You're just not going to know about them because it's not in detail. The Quran doesn't have these details. So it's like very weird when I hear a person say, oh, it tells me everything about this. No, it doesn't. You're not telling the truth. It doesn't. You just don't know this information. I was going to do my PhD thesis on Jesus through a Christian, Jewish, and Muslim perspective, right? And it was very hard through the Muslim. There's not much information. So I had to go to like spiritual elements, like mystical Islam, to kind of find this information. You don't have enough information to write. You know how long a dissertation is. It takes forever to write that. Like it's hundreds of pages. You have to, like, depending on your doctorate, if you're doing 60 credits versus 120, but it can be like 100 pages to like 300 pages, right? So that you need to have a lot of data. There's not much data that you have in the Quran on knowing about Jesus. So it's like, you're going to need these other sources. So it's really weird when a person says, I can get full confidence from the Quran to tell me about Jesus. It's not true. It's false.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
She literally did exactly what I just said she was going to do.
Yeah.
I mean, verbatim, she comes up with a story in the Quran that doesn't match the Bible and says that it's a correction. That's exactly what goes against what the Quran says. And that's why in that clip, the expression on my face, I'm trying to contain my laughter because I was thinking in my head, you can't make this up. You can't make this up.
Can't make this up, man. What we doing here, man? What in the world we doing here, dog? Oh, that's good. This was excellent. I want to get into the comment section here because the Muslims in the comments were going crazy. I mean, it was gold.
Yeah, I actually saw, you can go over there now, even on the channel. That's Dr. Daff, the Dr. Daff show. But lots of the Muslims are saying this was a setup. Like they picked these awesome Christian debaters and then picked Muslim women who don't know anything. And I'm going to go ahead and speak in defense of the Muslim women. These are the kinds of things I hear from Muslim men all the time. Namely, yeah, they're getting things wrong, but that just seems to be pretty normal. So this isn't an issue of somehow picking weak ladies. If you think there are better ladies out there, then go ahead and get them, and I'm sure they can set up another debate. So let's see.
In there, it was just gold. So let's get into these comment section. Let's see what we got pulling up. All right, so here's a comment from Suso who says, "Woman, are you kidding me? Every Muslim knows Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim are the two most authentic hadith narrators after the Quran."
Every Orthodox Sunni Muslim.
To answer the girl's question, a simple research explained to me that the Prophet is teaching us to not judge someone too quickly because only God knows what lies ahead for them. You should not have said the hadith contradicts the Quran or questions the hadith's authenticity because Bukhari and Muslim only and exclusively have 100% authentic hadith. No place for doubt.
And that's a Muslim, right?
That is a
Although Sheikh Yasser Qadi is Orthodox Sunni Muslim, and he says Hadith methodology cannot stand up to academic scrutiny, and so he just has to accept them by faith. And if you're just accepting them by blind faith, then you can kind of do have some wiggle room there. So,
I agree.
Right here.
What's that?
I agree with him. But see, the people are. He's an academic. Like he went to Yale. Like he's an academic. Like these other people aren't. What they're trying to do is they're doing shilling, right? Where they're like, we talked about this before. They're like, we'll use academics for Christianity and Judaism, but we will not use academics for Islam. We just trust the Hadith sciences as being 100% solid. We're not going to actually use, folks who have scrutiny of it, like Dr. Joshua Little and a lot of, other scholars. Probably Cook and Krona would probably have a field day with that type of stuff. But it's just like, you have to be fair, you have to be consistent, and I just believe in accountability and consistency, and I think that lacks a lot. And what the people here say, well, there's when we look at Sahih Bukhari, his argument was if someone spit on the ground or something, he wouldn't take their hadith. Stuff like that. But this is very arbitrary. This is an arbitrary way to know if someone is good or bad. And I really don't like that, where you're like, well, I'm going to tell this person is good or bad. And I think there probably are a lot of what you would call good people that don't look like your conventional good person. You know what I mean? It's a very superficial judgment, and I don't think that's good.
Yeah, when you're saying that, kind of reminded me of Nabil telling me a story of how his family became Ahmadis because they were just regular Muslims and so on. And this is in the course of like me and Nabil constantly having discussions and watching debates and reading books and arguing back and forth. And then Nabil eventually becomes a Christian. And then his dad takes him around to various scholars who are supposed to convince him to return to Islam and so on. And having him read all this stuff and do all this research and stuff that's supposed to convert him back to Islam and so on. But then Nabil was telling me that his dad told him a story, and his dad was telling it was like it was this awesome story. He said, yes, it was either his grandfather or his great-grandfather, but your let's just say grandfather. Your grandfather was in the kitchen of his house in Pakistan, and he heard the preacher show up to the square, and he heard him outside his window, and as soon as he heard him, he knew that this man had the truth, and so he went and followed this guy. And Nabil was like, wait, that's why our entire family believes this? Because my grandfather heard something out a window and somehow felt that it was the truth, and then he went in and followed that guy, and now that's why I'm supposed to continue following this? Like, but it was that idea of, wait a minute, what happened to all this academic investigation that we're supposed to do to find the truth? You're telling me that the reason we're supposed to cling to this is because Grandpa heard something outside a window and he just somehow knew it was the truth, and now I'm supposed to go along with that, and yet when we're evaluating Christianity and so we're supposed to apply all this academic research and stuff like this to try and confirm everything, but ultimately our faith is based on Grandpa hearing something outside. Are you really? It is
powerful.
Yeah,
it's
it is
heavy.
Yeah, it is.
That's very heavy.
Yeah.
And I dig that. I think that's really heavy and it's on point. A lot of people believe not because of logic. They believe because of emotion and faith. It's a very different, like, people have dreams. I think a lot of the people who become whatever religion, they have like a dream. It's an emotional connection, or one might argue spiritual. It's not logical and rational. And yeah, it is. It's weird. It's a very double standard. And I was thinking about that Leafy debate, and I was like, you really don't get it. Like, you're so willing and keen on showing scholarship about how bad Christianity and Judaism are, but you won't do the same thing. And they do bring it up, like where they said, well, what do you think about the split moon? And he's like, then he just made up some arbitrary argument where he's like, well, there's an absence of silence versus a silence of absence. And I'm like, this is nonsense. And
absence of evidence is not evidence of absence.
Yeah, maybe it was something like that, but it was utter nonsense. And I'm like, no, you can't prove that the Earth was split in half. That's ridiculous. You don't have any argument around the world for that. You have faith that that's true, and I would respect that if you said I believe this because my faith said. But don't give me Bollock's position of like, oh, it's logically and rationally true. No, it's not. No, it's not. There is no logical, rational thing where you could prove that the moon was cut in half. That you don't have that. That's like something from a video game. That's not something from real life that you can prove. And I'm just like, if you have faith in it, great. Be honest about it. Own it. And I really, this is why I really respect you. You are really intelligent. You're really smart. And you don't flaunt it around. You have a doctorate in philosophy. Philosophy's hard. I actually studied, I took a class in Buddhist philosophy, and it was super rough. This is actually how I learned about Western philosophy. I learned about it through studying Eastern philosophy. So I learned the debates between the Kyoto school of Japanese philosophy versus Western philosophy. So I learned about like kind of shunyata, like emptiness, versus Nietzsche's concept of emptiness, and like how do they compare, how did they work together. And that's how I actually learned it, through the debate of Eastern versus Western philosophers. And it was hard. It was really, really, really difficult, and it was exhausting. But then I see these people who are like pseudo scholars. They come out and they're like I think of Mr. Jake and Bracatella, where he comes in and he talks about philosophy. I'm like, man, you don't know nothing about what you're talking about. It's just you sound good, but you don't know. You're trying to defeat your opponent by using words, fancy words, but you don't really know what you're. It's not real knowledge. It's just it's flowery language. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, right? Like, what are the Dawah guys? What's their goal with their wives? It's to twist you into whatever I want you to be. And I said that's how they use science as well. It's not because I want to learn science and understand how the universe works better. It's what use can I make of this that will help me sound more knowledgeable to get more people supporting me for my Dawah. And it's the same with philosophy, right? Like God Logic had his discussions in the UK with Ali Dawah, and Ali Dawah's using all sorts of like philosophical. He clearly has no clue what he's talking about, but guess what? Neither do his fans. His fans don't know, and so they're hearing him using necessary and contingent. He goes, "Is this necessary? But this be contingent?" Yeah, and they're going, "Oh my goodness, he's using word contingent. Him so smart," and he has no freaking clue what he's talking about on any of this stuff. But yeah, so this is just Dawah. It's use everything for what you want, and who cares? Who cares about truth, accuracy, right, wrong, any of that? It's just make everything revolve around what you want.
I agree with you 100%.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Let's go ahead and check
all these comments are going to be from the Muslims.
Check out these.
We're reading all the Muslims. This is from Raj A1, who says, "I would really want to know where you brought these Muslims from. They did such a bad job and painted a bad image about
us." That's Muslims saying
this.
If he's so brave and he thinks he would do a better job, he can come on up on your channel.
Hey man, Monday, Wednesday, Friday.
God Logic's on there, man.
Standard Time. God Logic Apologetics channel. We live every time, man. You can come on through.
Yep. If you're a man and you think, or a woman, and you think you can do better than what those Muslim ladies did,
come on through. Come on through.
And you better not have the same answer.
All right, we got a comment from Diallo, who says, "These Muslim sisters need to go back and learn their deen. This is so embarrassing to watch as a Muslim. They clearly do not know their deen, kept making so many basic blunders, couldn't reference even a single very clear verse out of many in the Quran that would strongly support their positions. Dear Muslim women, please learn your deen. This would have been a cakewalk for any Muslim with a basic understanding of Islam that is rooted in reading and understanding the Quran. Alhamdulillah, we have so many great Dawah channels these
Great
days.
Dawah channels where?
It is not hard to answer any of these questions and to defend the Islamic point of view. This was a difficult watch as a Muslim. Respect to the Christian ladies for understanding their faith and for fiercely defending it. They did very well.
Wow, respect to this is a Muslim saying respect to the Christian ladies. Wow.
But this poster's wrong though. The thing is that these things are difficult, and a person with, you know, humility and understanding would understand that this is not just some easy thing like these Dawah people. Like when I hear people say Muhammad hijab, they need to debate Muhammad hijab. I'm like, no. This is not like a master scholar. He doesn't have any credentials in this stuff. He's not a master scholar. He just knows how to sound tough, like you said. He doesn't actually have real knowledge base to engage these things. And I'm like, this is hard. These topics are hard. It's not just easy breezy reconciliation. It takes a lot of work and effort. And I think that what this person is doing is, they probably are a lay person. They probably don't know much about Islam in general. They probably, and that what they do is like you said, they just go and they just say, I don't have to do the work. I'll just lay it on someone else. Mm-hmm. Let's lay it on the Dawah guy. They know, even though they don't know. And like, I've seen your debates. You outclass most of these people. Let's just be honest. Like they're not strong enough. And what they do is they act like they're strong, but they don't actually know how to deal with these things. They don't know enough about Christianity. They know nothing about Judaism, and they don't know about Islam. So it's like, it's a trifecta of failure, you know?
Yeah. I would guess, because he's saying, oh, you know, we've got all these great Dawah channels. This is probably the sort of Dawah fan that I was just talking about, with like someone who hears Jake the Muslim metaphysician using philosophical terms and is impressed by that and thinks that means he's giving great answers. And saying, hey, why can't you get people like that? Well, yeah, Issa's right. These are just difficult topics, and if you think your Dawah guy's just giving some quick, brilliant response, he's probably just spouting complete nonsense, and you don't know it. All right.
Wow. I like him, man. We got Wahid Khan. He says, sorry, but you need to bring people who have the knowledge and can debate. This is the second time where the women don't have enough knowledge, especially from the Muslim side, making Muslims look dumb. This seems quite calculated, and it makes an unfair representation. The Muslim women came across as though they had zero understanding of their religion and just stayed quiet.
Ooh. If I'm not mistaken, 2 of the women that we spoke with had PhDs, and one was a Quran teacher.
Yeah. Paradise says, go ahead and read that for him, babe.
Sorry, but they said a lot of falsehood. So the confusion of the Christians is very understandable. Wow. They made some good points. We do not believe Christians of today enter paradise. And yes, we do believe they commit shirk through the Trinity. There are specific verses about how disturbing the belief of the Trinity is in the Quran. Anyways, one who commits shirk, we do not view them as believers, and only believers enter paradise. As for the Christians and Jews of before, of course they will be, because we believe they followed the truth back then before it was changed.
You missed the whole Islamic
so they
dilemma.
did not take a man as God.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, man, we got a lot of...
That person just said a load of nonsense. I'm sorry. That person's like, yeah, the text has been... You don't know this. Mm-hmm. You don't have any scholarship. Like, I'm sorry, we're not going to go deep into the Islamic dilemma, but like...
we'll be doing that next week.
Yes, I'm not going to go deep into it. I'm just going to say one light thing on this. If you believe that these texts have been changed, then you need to show an original source text, and you cannot. So you need to be quiet about that. Don't tell me about things that are changed when you don't know. First of all, you're not a scholar of ancient literature and ancient texts. You don't know enough about manuscripts. A lot of what these people do, there was this movie that I saw, and it was really interesting. It had Jesse Eisenberg, and his father is a professor in the movie. And basically what happens in the movie is this guy really doesn't know anything, but his dad's a professor. So his dad talks about this book. So he learns the talking points of the book, and he tries to impress this girl with it, and he succeeds. But he doesn't actually have real knowledge of the book. He just knows this kind of shadow, this imitation of the knowledge of his father, and he passes off this imitation of the knowledge of his father to impress this girl that he wants to be with. And all it's fraudulent. He doesn't actually have real knowledge. He didn't actually read the book. He didn't actually do the work. He just came in and he's like, I'm going to pretend like I know what I'm talking about. And I think a lot of these people, what they do is they're faking it till they make it. They're just pretending.
Nope.
They don't actually know this stuff.
No, and it works. It works. It works if you're around a bunch of fellow Dawah fans. It just, you can get away with that sort of thing. Yeah, and I mean, when you see, oh, what we really believe is this, and then it was, they did have the truth originally, but then it was corrupted and so on. All you're telling me is this is what you heard your entire life, and you've never done the slightest bit of research. Guess what? That's not going to stand up to scrutiny in a debate. It's just not. You kind of have to figure out what you're talking about.
Criticism.
They're parroting talking points.
Mm-hmm.
They're a parrot.
Dawah script. Everything's
It's
a
a
Dawah
complete
script.
parrot. They don't know what they're saying. They're just like, yeah. Like, and I've had debates. This is where I get in a lot of difficulty when I engage with people. I'm like, you're saying the Bible is corrupted. Can you prove that? And they can't. They're just like, look at how disgusting and gross the Bible is. And I'm like, bro, have you read the Hadith? Like, all these people are schoolboys compared to like what some of these Hadiths say. You showed it in your Islamicize Me. I'm like, some of the stuff, if you want to say things are vulgar, according to our modern standard of ethics, don't insult the Bible. If you're going to do that, then you have to scrutinize the Hadith as well, which don't say very beautiful things, you know? So it's like, this is the problem. You are trying to say this is unethical, and I'm like, who are you to even say this is unethical? Are you some, paragon of justice and integrity? Probably not. So who are you to critique these people and say that they're evil, bad people? Like, I hate that. They're like, Lot was abused by his daughters. This means he's not good. And I'm like, who are you to say that? Are you a good person? Are you some ethical paragon of justice and goodness? I don't think so.
Against the Muslim ladies. Let's see what else we got here, man. Go ahead, read this one.
This is so sad. This channel is so biased, and whoever runs this is so insecure about their faith that every time they pick Muslims that are in no way educated enough about both scriptures to debate. Seriously? That one lady cannot even say the Arabic word from the Quran. This is crazy. It's so hard for me to believe that someone chosen to debate for Islam does not know the basics. I completely understand for regular Muslims and even reverts can't quickly learn Arabic in order to read the Quran in its original language. Some never do, and that's fine. Allah encouraged effort, not perfection. But for someone to debate for a whole religion, they better have deep knowledge of both the Quran and the many Bibles. I dare this channel to level the playing field and to be fair. Let the audience decide instead of trying to manipulate us and pushing your agenda.
I think that the audience did decide. I mean, when you're reading, not the Christian comments, when you're reading the Muslim comments, the Christian ladies definitely dominated the discussion. And we're not talking about in rhetoric. We're talking about in knowledge, in responses, in thoughtful answers, in engagement. The Christian side was so much more prepared than the Muslim side. And here's why. Because Islam is indefensible. You cannot defend Islam. The only thing you can do is misrepresent what the Quran says, and then also misrepresent what the Bible says. That's all we're going to see. So, unfortunately, it doesn't matter how many times you do this. Each group of Muslims is going to fail because they're defending a false religion.
I listen to my husband talk to Muslims every single day. The ladies on stage, outside of a few outliers, give the exact same answers that every other Muslim guy does every single day on God Logic Apologetics.
Sophia says,
did you catch that? She says she listens to her husband, God Logic, talk to Muslims every day. Why is that relevant? Why is that relevant, everyone? Okay. So she marries God Logic, Avery, and she's hearing him, guess what? If you don't know how to cook a hamburger, talk about her cooking, right? Talk about Avery cooking, talk about her cooking. If you don't know how to cook a hamburger, but you marry someone, you see this person cooking a hamburger every day. You're sitting there watching. That's how you cook a hamburger, eh? Okay, you're taking it out and making a patty out of it. Tossing it in the pan. You're flipping it now. Oh, now you're tossing it on the bun. Okay, okay. Well, I've just watched this person cooking hamburgers every single day. Guess what? You know what? I think I could do this. I think I could cook a hamburger too. And then all of a sudden you try it. Hey, I could cook a hamburger too. Why? Well, I watched someone who was cooking. All right. So she's watching Avery every day have discussions and debates with Muslims. And then she goes out and does the same thing. Right. She learned how to do it. That's how we all learn. We're learning from other people. We see other people doing it. That's how we learn. Why am I bringing this up? Well, think about Ali Dawah's wife. How would she even have a debate? People think, oh, why didn't you get someone better? Okay, well, you're just picking women who don't know what they're talking about. They don't know their deen. Okay, who are you gonna get? Ali Dawah's wife? She's learning from who? Ali Dawah. So obviously, if you think Ali Dawah's got powerful Dawah and his wife is watching him, how's she gonna do in a debate? How's she gonna do in a debate? What would that even look like? What would that even look like? Like, one, she's not even allowed to talk, apparently. So it would be like this. It would be like, and you'd be sitting there reading it, and Ali Dawah would have to like pronounce it for her and be like, the Trinity make no sense, yeah? And that would be the debate. She'd have to debate like that. And I mean, suppose we grant her the ability to speak. What would she be parroting? What would she be parroting? Ali Dawah's talking points? Like what would that look like? It'd be like, so even if she's talking, what's she gonna look? Yo, square, it don't be the same thing as a triangle. Yo, a triangle can't be the same thing as a square. That make no sense. You see, Christianity false. That's what she would have learned from her husband. That would be terrible argumentation. And so it's not just like part of the process is actually learning how to think, learning how to understand what people's saying, learning like to think about what sort of argument someone's making, an objection they're making, and how to respond effectively, and knowing the material and what is the most effective response and so on. And that's just not what you learn in Dawah. That's not what you learn in Dawah. So it just wouldn't work. It'd be repeating the Dawah. Guess what? That's exactly what the ladies were doing in that debate. I'm talking about the Muslim ladies. They keep falling back on the Dawah script, even if it makes no sense in context, and even if they're not actually responding to what people are really saying. And so I'm seriously trying to think, like, what do you do in this situation? You just had 4 Muslim women debate 4 Christian women, and you've got all the Muslims in the comments saying, oh, you must have deliberately picked clueless Muslim women. As Lady Logic pointed out, she thinks 2 of those women have PhDs and that one of them's a Quran teacher. So if you're a Muslim and you're not satisfied with your Muslim debaters, where are you going to go? Where are you going to go? Again, what, Ali Dawah's wife? Where are you going? Where are you going to find these awesome women debaters? And where did they get their stuff from? Is it just by watching Dawah guys? I'll tell you right now, it's not going to work. They're not going to do any better than these Muslim women did. So I don't even know what you do in this situation.
I think it's a good question that you're asking. It's like, what do you do in this debate? I heard the Muslim ladies' arguments. And I don't think that they were completely horrible. I think the problem they had was they're not using arguments that are consistent for themselves. So like the argument was they're like, Christianity is really violent. The argument you can say is European imperialism and colonialism is violent. The problem is it's very easy. A Christian has a very easy defense that is not even being looked at here. The Christian could say that has nothing to do with Jesus. That's just a person who's claiming Jesus. They're not following Jesus, so I can wash my hands of it. It's a little more complex in Islamic history because you do have narratives that include violence. I'm just being honest. There is that element. So it's a much harder way to wash your hands of. If you see violent people who are Christians, it's easy to wash your hands of it. You're like, it has nothing to do with my Lord. I don't have anything to do with this, right? But it is a little more complex, and you have to do a little bit more work making Islam more peaceful. It's more difficult. It's a more difficult task. So you should have humility. This is my big thing. If you're going to debate a Christian on this, you got to have humility. You have the harder position. Honestly speaking, it is harder because you have a lot of narratives that are not easy for modern audiences, just honestly speaking. The point that I think is interesting too is like that you brought up the Trinity. I'm like, this is going to sound, I don't want to offend your audience here, but we're using magical thinking. We're using thinking that isn't fitting in logic. We believe in God. God isn't something you can just test and you can, do a chemical reaction and you can look under a microscope. We're believing in a being that's way beyond us, right? God can be whatever God wants to be. So if you're just going to say, well, God can't be a Trinity, why can't God be a Trinity? Why can't you say that? You don't have a way of proving that because God is beyond you, so it's like you're trying to institute human logic to God, which I think is crazy. I don't know how to do that. I can't do that. I mean, I'm just going to be honest. I don't know how to do that. But it's like you're going to tell this person you believe in a God that you can't see, you can't touch, you can't feel. And you're going to say that because this God is one, according to your human logic, that's more logical than a God, being a Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. I don't know. It just seems silly to me. Am I wrong? Am I off on this? Like, I don't know.
No, you'd be entirely correct thinking that, so we have us and we're on this kind of narrow plane of existence. One of the things we learn from science in the world is that things don't always operate the way we think they do. So you get down to the level of quantum mechanics and you're thinking, and you realize, things on a very small level do not work the way we think they will. In fact, we can't even get our minds around how things work on a really, really tiny level. And then you go up to the large scale level. So that's the level of relativity. And you find out, things do not work the way I think they will. We can't even get our minds around them. We can't even picture reality as it is on a large scale. And so that should tell you that, hey, you're on a narrow plane of existence, and things off that plane of existence do not work the way you think they will. And so, yep, that is correct.
Thank you.
All right, let's go through these last couple super chats, and then we'll be out, and we'll be back next time for more. That's the Big Diddy Wood and Goofy Soofy EP. Oh, that was from when we were busting fresh rhymes earlier on. D Wood, why are you going in on us, not in the El Zut sense, about the El Zut jokes? It's your fault we make these jokes. Hey, don't be blaming me. Don't be blaming me. What if I go jump off a bridge? You're going to be like, I'm going to jump off a bridge too, and it's your fault, David. That's your decision. If I go out in the desert, no, just leave that aside. Muhammad online, you've got mail. El Zut. Very rude. Very rude. Don't know what's going on here. D Wood will even collab with Muslims over Mike Winger. That's true. She sounds like Winger Big Book lol. Oh, I don't know what this is in response to. Because this is from a little earlier, so I don't know who that was in response to. I hate the word Islamophobe. It implies irrational fear, and politicians Dawagandists use it like a club to demonize us. What do you think of the term Islamokafir, instead our own rejection of Allah? Yeah, you do have a problem with the term because it's mainly used to just silence any sort of discussion. Late to stream. How's your leg, Issa? Oh, yeah. How is your leg? That's a while. That's, what, 2 months ago?
It was, it happened June
3 months
16th.
ago? Yep.
Yeah, June 16th. So it was a while back, but I'm walking, I'm hobbling around, but I'm I have a lot of gratitude. I have a lot of gratitude. I was in North Carolina for about a month, 3 weeks, and you know, I was able to save my mom's life because she was driving, and then like she fell and I caught her. So I'm really glad that that happened. That she's alive and she's well. It's been hard, but I'm really grateful, and I'm healing. I have like a little bit of a scar here. You can see that. Like I have this scar here, but I'm grateful.
Wait, so what was broken? I thought it was your femur. What is that?
I had a tibia plateau fracture, and I had some kind of like issue with my like scapula and clavicle, but those kind of resolved themselves. But yeah, I had a tibia plateau fracture, so they did an external fixation where they basically did surgery and they put this like big pole on my leg, like these poles on my legs, and I just had to have them for like a couple days, and then they did the internal surgery, and so they repaired the leg, like they put a bunch of stuff in there, and initially I wasn't walking, and then it took a while. I was non-weight bearing, and I'm hobbling around. I've been using a wheelchair at school, but I'm really grateful. I feel blessed and trying not to be stressed.
Good attitude. How do you correct previous scriptures when the Quran confirms the Bible but contradicts it? Oh yeah, talking about their corrections earlier on. D. Wood, you need Issa on more. I appreciate his thinking too. All right, we will have Issa permanently replace AP.
Oh no, but I thank you for having
I'm not going to call you Issa anymore. I'm going to call you Better AP. I'm too used to saying AP, so I'm not going to be able to get away from that. So I'll just refer to you as Better AP. My prophet Dawood al-Zut, fear him. 2 days ago, I found a larger format King James version from 1967. As you say, choose the Bible you want to read. God bless you. Yeah, that's the basic principle. Hi, David and friend. That friend's name is Better AP. Should have got Ali Dawah to show up in drag for panel. That would be some sort of funny skit, right? The Christian women, they crush the Muslim ladies, and then Muslims challenge the ladies to a follow-up debate, but it's like Muhammad Hijab, Ali Dawah, Daniel Hakikachu, and Jake the Muslim metaphysician all wearing wigs, and they show up and pretend to be the female debaters. That would be classic. That's a good idea. I like that idea. Hello, we work within a Nigerian priest who founded a charity that helps persecuted Nigerians and orphans left behind. Would you guys be able to help? Would you guys be able to help? How do I contact you? Yeah, you can find my email. Be interested in getting them on for a live stream. Tell us what's going on. I'm trying to think. Someone was asking. Who was it? Someone just recently was asking. Someone I know was asking for contact with someone knowledgeable in Nigeria of how things are going on. But yeah, you can find my email address on my YouTube homepage, and you can send me a message there. We know who split Momo's moon. What's wrong with you guys and your silly jokes? Jesus said, you shall know them by their fruits. He condemns adultery, lying, stealing, idolatry, killing. Hate is easy. Love isn't. Love is kind, holy. Is it fair to say the Bible is a library of manuscripts? How can a library be corrupt? You say library of books. Manuscripts refer specifically to handwritten copies. But yeah, the Bible is actually a library of books. Issa's one of the good ones. See, there's some good ones, and here it is. The last super chats from Issa here. Thanks for having me on, brother David and fam here. All right, Issa. So everyone, thanks for joining us. Thanks for joining us. I'll be back on, Lord willing, with Robert Spencer tomorrow, and with Issa next weekend, where we'll be going through the Islamic dilemma. I'll pick a Dawah clip I'll pick a Dawah clip. Now I see Dawah guys trying to respond to the Islamic dilemma left and right. So I'll pick one that we haven't addressed, and Issa and I will discuss our views of this, and we'll check out what one of the Dawah guys says about the Islamic dilemma and see if it's powerful. Maybe we're missing something. All right, final thoughts on everything, Issa.
Well, it's always an honor to be here, and just grateful, and I love talking to your community here. I think these are really important topics, and I think you're really fair, and I think it's really sad when I see people say you're racist and you're bad, and I'm like, I don't see that. I think you're very fair, and I think you're a really kind, caring person, and I wish other people saw that too. It's just weird, like when I go to certain places, like he's hateful, and I'm like, because he disagrees with something that you are into, that makes him hateful. I'm like, I don't get that, and I just wish that some of these folks would be reflective on their own kinds of thoughts and accountable. One point I wanted to share before we end, I saw a conversation with God Logic, and it was a Muslim woman on like a TikTok, and she basically came in and was like, you're unethical because you're attacking Muslims and you're just this mean bad guy. And then what God Logic did, what Avery did, was he said, hey, here's some sources, you know, this doesn't seem ethical. Like, are you going to hold the same standard? And then her whole thing collapsed, and you just saw this really, I don't know if you want to call it demonic presence, but it was so horrible. I'm like, if it was me in that situation, I'm like, yeah, I don't know about these sources. I don't agree with that. Like, that's not a part of my theology. But she's like, I'm just going to meld. If the text says whatever I want, whatever it says, I'm going to change what I believe so I can sound like I'm good with the text. And I'm like, that's not how ethics work. That's not how, like, being, I guess, trying to be a holy or spiritual person works. You need to try to be an ethical human being yourself. And I find that really sad that you will change your whole ethical framework just to fit what a text says. I can't do that personally. Like, if I saw a text that said, like, do horrible things, I'm like, you know what? If the consequences, you know, I need to go burn in hell, I'm like, I'm going to take burning in hell. I just am designed this way. I'm like, this is an unethical thing. Like, you know, let's say there was like a Nazi regime and it said, you know, we are the emissaries of God, and they told me that I had to do horrible things. I'm like, you know what? It's time to die, I guess, because I'm not going to do what you're saying. I'm sorry. At least if I'm in the state that I'm in now, hopefully I would be, but that's where I would be.
Yeah, as far as the Dawah guys, thinking David Wood's a big mean jerk and so on. I react. I'm kind of if you're an evil scumbag and you're going to be abusing other people, I'm gonna bother you a lot. I'm gonna mess with you and bother you a lot, and you're gonna hate me and so on. If you're a nice guy and you're respectful, I got no problem with you, and we can have fun discussions. As far as kind of takeaway, we have the last super chat here. Issa, peace be upon him. Nice. The big takeaway, guys. The big takeaway. So, if you're a human being, you are created in the image of God, and that means you are created with some amazing abilities to somehow reflect the nature of God to the world, and that's what we're supposed to do. And if you're kind of an individual, you're born, you're on your own, you're doing your things. Your goal should be to image God, to the best of your ability. When you get married, things change a little bit, because now it's not just how you image God, it's you want to help your partner image God as well. And also together you become something more than either one of you separately. And it's the relationship as well that's imaging God. And you definitely see that with God Logic. You see that with Avery and Christina, God Logic and Lady Logic. I'm not seeing it with the Dawah guys and their wives. I see something that is degrading to the women. And guess what? If your job as a man who's married to a woman is for your relationship to be the image of God as well, and you're supposed to be helping your wife image God as well as she can, when you're degrading your wife, you're also degrading yourself. And you're degrading your entire marriage and stuff. And so, guys, this Dawah dysfunction's got to go. It's got to go, everyone. All right. I'll see everyone tomorrow. Lord willing, with Roberts, and be back next weekend with Issa for some more. So catch y'all then. See you next time.